White. Wide open, Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cash!
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz right here on Pub Sports Radio, starring a new father. Troy Torrence, we missed you last week. The birth of your son. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that before we get rolling, my man?
Yeah, so we went through the battle that happened, probably last week around early Monday. We started getting pretty serious contractions. By the time, next thing you know, October 18, my baby was born. His name's Tatum. He's a big one. He's 10 pounds. And I'm working on low fumes. Okay, I'm running on some diesel. So excited to attack the board, though.
Well, it's wonderful, wonderful news. Thank you to everybody joining us here on Bankroll Blitz. We have 16 games, so we got to get right into the action here. But first, we'd be remiss if we didn't discuss what happened last week. Now, you weren't with us. You were attending the birth of your son, but that didn't stop you from firing away, Troy. 19 bets you had on the board, and thanks to a big plus 555 score, you went 10-9 plus 5.89 units. Jacksonville plus 8 in the under 46 teaser minus 120 did not come through. Jaguars minus 2.5 did. Browns minus 2 did not. Browns money line did. The Cleveland Buffalo money line parlay did not come through thanks to the Bills. Colts team total under didn't. Cleveland and Indiana team total under, and Eagle parlay didn't. And then a triple up on the Chargers. Chargers plus 5, Chargers plus 6. Chargers. At that point, your weekend looked grim, and I had a similar tale with mine. And then you caught fire. You tripled up on the Eagles minus 2, minus 1.5, and on the money line, you cashed the Eagles Browns money line parlay. You cashed Eagles double result parlay. You cashed Dallas Goedert over 41.5 receiving yards, and then your big one, you cashed Eagles double result Hurts TD and Goedert over 41.5 receiving yards plus 555. You cashed Minnesota San Francisco under 44, and then you lost a parlay with Ayuk, the under 49.5, Minnesota plus 10.5, and San Francisco money line. Overall, though, a successful week for you in life and in your action. I went 7-6 plus 0.36 units, and I'm shocked that I was able to find the black because I opened 0-4. Jacksonville, New Orleans under 39.5, New Orleans minus 120, Buffalo minus 8.5, Tampa Bay minus 2.5. I'm 0-4. It's dodgy. And then Atlanta, Tampa under 38 cashed. My double up Steelers plus 3 and the Steelers Rams under 44 cashed. Lost with the Chargers, but cashed Philly minus 2, cashed Minnesota plus 7, cashed San Francisco, Minnesota under 44. The Raiders, Chicago under 39 lost, and Chargers, KC under 48.5 cashed. The live streams we did on Sunday and Monday were monstrous. I picked up 1.5K. I cashed same game parlays in both of those. My first same game parlays of the year. So that was
the first same game parlay I gave out on a live stream, and it ended up cashing you too. I feel like that's, we could argue about that, so we're blue in the face, but that should be reflected in your record because it's going into your bankroll. And
I keep everything clean. If I tweet it out, it makes it official. If I give it out on live, we had 250 people live with us. You guys, we all know what went down.
What it is.
Yeah, I was very excited, and just we have so much work to do. But just to touch on that, I needed a spark. Something fun, and that's what those same game parlays are. They're just so much fun. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat joining us: Gerald Jones, Ian Shaber, Mac Beavers, Spenny, Penny Bombs, Nate Dog 420, Birdie, Rance, Sky Dragon, Terry Walker. Great to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining us. So you are 56-61, 47.9%, but your average line of plus 129 has you up 3.88 units and an ROI plus 3.32%. I'm 51-45, hitting at 53.1%. I'm up 1.13 units. My ROI plus 1.18%, average line minus 110. And you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. I was very concerned with the start of last week, this Thursday and the beginning of Sunday. I was very, very concerned. There is Ron Crawford in the house. And Gerald Jones says power numbers getting sharp. And Al Cervic joining us. I'm that Heat joining us. You know, I really feel like we have an advantage now. I feel like there's enough information from what we've seen to really, really believe in the statistics now. And I didn't feel that way in weeks 3, 4, and that's why I wasn't hammering them. Now it's time to hammer them. I want to know every team what they're doing on third down. I want to know every team what they're doing in the red zone. There's just enough information for us. So let's get right to work right now. And we start with the Thursday nighter, Troy, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Buffalo Bills. Buccaneers 3-3, 2-0 on the road at the Bills, 4-3, 3-1 at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. It is 64 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 11-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history and the cash flow for this one. We'll start with the line. The Bills are big favorites, and with the way their defense is playing, I understand they're an angry group, but this is a big spread. But it opened up at -8, -106. Now they're -8 and -113. So the market has moved slightly towards them, 7 cents of movement towards them. And from a total scenario, we are sitting at 42.5. This opened up at 42.5 and went down to 41.5, and it's back at 42.5. And watching the Bills defense, I know the Buccaneers struggle to score, and we'll talk all about that. But watching the Bills defense, I thought to myself in that fourth quarter of the Patriots-Bills game, why not just start hammering overs with the Bills? And we'll talk about that here. 86% of the tickets and 89% of the cash on the Bills. Do I want to go up against that? 65% of the tickets and 63% of the cash on the under. Dan Kelly says just too many injuries for the Bills. I was on Patriots team total over last Sunday, and we'll be on the Bucs this week. I get it. And Skydragon says all this info has made lines real tight. Used to bet like 12 totals. Now I bet 6 and hate half of them. Ron Crawford says Bucs cover and Bills win. Spenny Pennybaum's looking at Godwin yards. So the Buccaneers coming off an ugly 16-13 home loss to the Falcons, and they're becoming a very predictable team, which I like. I like very much predictability in sports casting. Baker Mayfield was 27-42 for 275 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He also ran 3 times for 32 yards. The offense was decent. They picked up 329 yards. They were 6 of 12 on third down. It's just that they continue to struggle in the red zone. And that's why we're cashing unders on all Bucs games. They were 0-2 against the Falcons. They're now 28th in the league, converting 37.5% of their red zone opportunities. Mike Evans caught 6 for 82, and Godwin caught 6 for 66. I mean, it's a luxury for Baker to have these great receivers, but the running game struggles week in and week out. Rachaad White ran 13 times for 34 yards. He did catch 6 passes for 65 yards. That helps. Their defense was strong enough to win them the game. The Falcons offense, was able to move the ball on the Buccaneers with relative ease, 400 yards of offense, but the Bucs D strengthened up when it mattered. They held the Falcons to 1-5 in the red zone. They lead the league, allowing touchdowns on just 22.22% of red zone drives. They forced 3 fumbles, 2 of which came when the Falcons were in the red zone. I mean, it was wild. Those fumbles were absolutely wild. Their pass rush was not strong, 1 sack, but they were strong in other areas. They held the Falcons to 4.1 yards per rushing attempt on 38 carries. And that actually was Atlanta's fewest yards per carry in a game which they've had at least 38 attempts since week 15 of the 2002 season. The defense is 7th in the league, allowing 17.3 points per game. Baker Mayfield dealing with a knee injury. He's expected to play through it. He hasn't practiced this week, and I don't expect him to. And their safety, Kayvon Merriweather, hurt his ankle. He was not part of the walkthrough on Monday, and we haven't been given an update yet. The Bills come in off a 29-25 loss at New England. Josh Allen, 27-41 for 265 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He ran 7 times for 17 yards and a touchdown and lost a fumble. Dalton Kincaid led the Bills receivers with 8 catches for 75 yards. Stephon Diggs caught 6 for 58 and a touchdown. James Cook ran 13 times for 56 yards, got 3 for 46 and a touchdown. The running game is meek. You know, they averaged 3.4 yards on 24 attempts. I mean, it's pretty ugly, and this offense is struggling. They've now been outscored 24-0 in the first quarter over the past 3 games. They're just not showing up. They've scored 10 first half points over those 3 games. Now, they're still second in the league on third down conversions, converting 49.3% of the time. But this defense looked bad. The injuries are piling up. I mean, Tre'Davious White gone for the year. Then they lose Matt Milano and Daquan Jones long-term. Ed Oliver has a toe injury. Defensive tackle Jordan Phillips is dealing with a back injury. They got 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. They allowed a Patriots team that had scored 20 points in their previous 3 games to score 29 points and put up 364 yards. And the third down defense from the Bills is now 23rd in the league, and it's dropping, and it will continue to drop. They allow conversions 42.1% of the time. You know, I'm interested in the over in this one, but God, the Buccaneers just can't score in the red zone. Is this beat up Bills defense enough for the Buccaneers to not only cover, but maybe get us? I mean, if they can get to 20 points, we cash the over for sure. If they can get to 17 points, we might. Take it away for us here, Troy, the Thursday nighter Buccaneers Bills.
So when I started hearing about betting the over in a primetime game, I start to grit my teeth a little bit because that's been super unprofitable. But goddamn, you drive a pretty tough proposition there. But when I start looking at this game immediately, I think the Bills are going to bounce back. I mean, that's my initial thought. The Bills lost outright as 8-point favorites. And we know the Bills get angry after losses, especially embarrassing ones. I see a lot of sentiment. I think it's the Bills defense too, but I see some sentiment on Josh Allen when all of his numbers saying he's having a very successful career, top 3 in pretty much every statistical category you want to look at. But it's this Bills defense, and they just continue to get more beat up. Mac Jones had a career day on him. I think the best QBR he's had in the past 2 seasons at least. And despite there's a lot of money coming in on Buffalo, and I don't think we've seen enough line movement at this 8 number. I mean, I feel like we should be seeing a lot more 8.5s across these books. But, you know, my thing is when I start looking towards the Bucs is the offense, and I think they're kind of being figured out. If you remember a couple weeks back, I've been talking about how they run play action at the highest rate in the league, or second highest rate in the league, on 30% of dropbacks. But I think that's starting to get aired out a little bit because it's an easy adjustment when you realize they can't run block and they can't run the football for their lives. They just can't run the football. The offensive line, these are the biggest splits I've ever seen, is second in pass block, but 32nd in run block. So what's the defensive adjustment you need to make? Win the run game, win in the box with your front 4. Don't bite as a linebacker. Definitely don't bite as a safety. And I feel like that's making it a lot more difficult for Baker Mayfield, whose ratings are dropping off a cliff. There's a pretty significant downtrend each and every game the past few weeks. So I was kind of at dismay in this game. I do trust the Bills to get the win in this game. As you were talking about some of these, the Bucs' great red zone defense, like you were saying, their offense is just as bad as their defense is good. But is that a little bit of a fraudulent stat though? Because if you look at all their other metrics, I mean, they're 32nd in the league opponent third down conversions, and they're in the mid-20s for most of these metrics that I'm looking at. So is that going to come back to is there going to be some unfavorable regression in that red zone defensive category? I think there could be, which also leads to the over, Jimmy. To be honest, I see a lot of reasons to back the over. I couldn't do it just because it's primetime unders for me, or anything or nothing. But I do have a teaser. This is the first leg of a teaser, and I'm actually teasing quite a few teams with one specific spot that we'll get to later.
God, I want that Buccaneers team total over. I want this game over.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's the right look.
Dan Kelly talking about, you know, him hammering team totals against the Bills. It just makes so much sense to me. But I think that I want an angry Bills team involved. I mean, if you watch the Buccaneers defense last week, they have 401 total yards to the Falcons. I mean, it wasn't a shutdown group. Now, sure, they had some great plays down at the goal line, but
they can't get off the field on third down. And every week, it's just the same thing. And then they start you up. I mean, it's effective the way they're playing defense. It has been. But soon it's going to come back to haunt.
I'm very interested in the over. Very interested in the over. And I expect to move on it. I really do. Let's just take one last look at this thing. So it's a 42.5 at Pinnacle. It's 42 at the other books. It dropped down to 41.5. I don't care. I don't care that unders are hitting and hitting and hitting. You have a Bills team with motivation, clear issues defensively. And if the Falcons, can roll up 400 yards on the Buccaneers, why are we concerned about the Buccaneers defense? So okay, the over is something I'm going to move on. And what is your first leg of your teaser?
It is the Bills -2.5.
Bills -2.5. All right. I'm going to move on the over. That's enough of that. I'm going to move on the over, and I'm interested in the Bucks. I'm interested in the Bucks keeping this, within a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. I think it might be a perfect spot to live bet the Bucks in this spot.
Oof. The over is going to be on my card, though. This just is something I want to do, and I should probably take the Buccaneers team total over as well. I probably should. I think I have to. God damn. This is not what I was. Yeah, I have to take the Bucks team total over and this full game over. All right, that is our Thursday nighter. Troy is teasing the Bills. I can't triple up on a Thursday nighter, so if I take the Bucks team total over, I'm not going to take the Bucks 8.5. But God, that might be a nice look too. All right, there is your Thursday nighter. Let's roll on. We roll on to Sunday, October 29th. We start at 1 p.m. Eastern with the Los Angeles Rams 3-4, 2-1 on the road at the Dallas Cowboys 4-2, 2-0 at home. We're at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Let's get into the line history here for this one. This is a beauty to get us started. Rams, Cowboys. We start with the total sitting at 45 right now. This opened at 46. We've had a 1-point drop to 45. Let's get over to the side for this one. We have this side sitting at -6.5 for Dallas. This opened up -6. It's now -6.5. Let's get over to the cash flow. So we have a slight move towards the Rams, and we have a slight move towards the under. 68% of the tickets and 88% of the cash is on that under. From a spread standpoint, 68% of the tickets and 76% of the cash is on these Dallas Cowboys. Gerald Jones is on Dallas -6. Benny Pennybaum's on the Rams +6.5. And Nate Dogg also leaning towards these Rams. Rams come in off a 24-17 loss at home to the Steelers. It was a double-up spot for me. Felt great. Matt Stafford was 14-29 for 231 yards, touchdown to pick. And Puka Nacua, the Nacua train keeps rolling. 8 catches for 154 yards, 58 receptions in his first 7 games, an NFL record. Cooper Kupp was held to 2 catches for 29 yards. That was strange. Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson look great. They look great on the ground, replacing the injured Kyron Williams. They combined for 30 carries for 127 yards. Henderson, of course, was released last November. He had 3.5 seasons with the Rams, and he was out of the league. And he got signed up, and he was very good. The Rams were 9 of 16 on third down. They're 9th in the league in third down conversions, and that's a Stafford gift. They allowed the Steelers to go 3 for 3 in the red zone. This is usually a point of strength for the Rams. They're 8th in the league in red zone defense, allowing touchdowns on 47.4% of opponent drives. Michael Hoyt had the lone 2 sacks, but they did get 7 hits as a team on Pickett. Cowboys coming off their bye week. They were last seen in a 2017 win at the Chargers. That was the only game this season for the Cowboys that was decided within 12 points. Every other game has been a blowout in either direction, and they really needed a break. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. Of course, they've lost Trayvon Diggs for the year, and now Leighton Vander Esch and defensive back C.J. Goodwin are on IR. Their passing game is not being good this year. They're ranked 19th in the league, averaging 210.2 passing yards a game. Dak is averaging his lowest passing yards per game since his second year in the league. And the red zone offense is bad. 26th in the league, scoring touchdowns on just 39.1% of their opportunities. And the reason why that's so wild that they're 26th is they led the league in this last year. They led the league 71.4%. So they traded for Brandon Cooks. Where is he? he's supposed to be this deep threat that's supposed to stretch defenses. He's rarely used downfield. CeeDee Lamb is not getting targeted much. The offensive line is not opening up holes. It's an ugly offense, but the defense has been a highlight. They're 8th in the league, allowing 288.7 yards per game. Their secondary has stayed strong despite losing Diggs for the season. They are 3rd, allowing just 177 yards per game through the air. Take it away for us here, Troy. Rams, Cowboys.
So this Cowboys-Rams game, I was actually thinking about teasing the Cowboys with the play I'll talk about later, but I got off of it really quick and I started to look at some of the numbers and started leaning back towards the Rams. So here's what I kind of went through when I was looking at this game. And ultimately, I found that it's just a shitty matchup for the Rams. Anytime you get a good pass rush against the Rams, I don't think you want to be backing the Rams. The 4 losses and non-covers they have, like they covered versus the Niners, but it took that little mob shit type of field goal at the end of the game to get there. But the 4 net losses that they got are versus the Eagles, Niners, Bengals, and Steelers. Those are all top pass rushes in the NFL and known to be top pass rushes in the NFL. And here we go with the Cowboys. This pass blocking unit for the Rams is pretty damn bad. PFF got them at 29. I actually think they're 32nd. And I think Matt Stafford and McVay do a lot to help that line, help support just the lack of talent on that line. And the only other note I have on this Rams offense is that Puka could go down as the greatest receiver of all time. I really think he's GOAT type of material. I'm saying it now. The guy has an engine like no other. There's no other receiver with this guy's stamina. So that's where I'm at with this Rams team. Cowboys. I'm not buying into Dak Prescott at this point. All the plays he made last week were all broken type of plays. It's not like he sat in the pocket and diced them up. Made a few great throws, but I'm not buying what I've seen out of Dak Prescott. But what you do see is when you see a quarterback bounce back after a bad game, it's always through the air. It's always through, and it's reflected in air yards per attempt, which he led the weekend when he played against the Chargers. But I say all this to say that, going through this game, I started to lean harder and harder towards the under. So I've checked the database, and what I found was pretty damn convincing on unders. This is exactly the sweet spot. I have all the iterations of the database in this based on this line movement, and it actually matches up with my X's and O's too. Totals when they close at pinnacle between 44.5 and 46 after a move to the under are 17-3 to the under. That's over 80%. And that's pretty strong stuff, if you ask me. I've been having a great year when it comes to totals, and I plan on betting them a lot more. And I think that the Rams should force the Cowboys to play underneath. I think we're going to get the best of both worlds. This game goes way under the total.
I love the look. I think this makes a ton of sense. Is this part of your action that you've tweeted out already?
I bet it 2 different times. So I bet it at 45.5 and at 45.
Yes, you have. I see it right now. That makes a ton of sense to me. It really does.
Skydragon, also the Rams don't get gashed on the ground. They might give up a few chunk plays here, but they don't get gashed over and over. They have a good run defense, a respectable run defense.
Yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Skydragon liking it too says I like the under 46. Every Rams game just screams of long drives, and I don't trust either to score touchdowns. Yeah. This is, I want to join you on this. So Troy has already moved on the under 45.5 and 45. And I want to join. I want in. A side doesn't, I don't find a side very appealing here. I think it's a pretty sharp line personally, but the under is very appealing. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Minnesota Vikings 3-4, 2-1 on the road at the Green Bay Packers, 2-4, 1-1 at home, Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin. 42 Fahrenheit showers, 10 miles per hour is the expected weather. Those purple people eaters, it was so easy fading my 49ers. Who better than you to fade your team? That was so easy last night. God, that was easy. If they were all like that, Troy.
Hey, did Kirk Cousins not play the best game of his career? I mean, to me, he was so damn impressive. I thought he was extremely impressive.
It was very, very easy. Under the same game parlay, the Vikings. Good God. All right, let's talk about the line history here for this one. Vikings, Packers, and the storied rivalry here. Let's see what we are dealing with. It is at +1 right now for Green Bay. Green Bay opened up at -1. They are now +1. That line move towards Minnesota. Obviously, we have a bias in our heads, and if that's a 49ers team come playoff time, they'll be eliminated immediately. That's not the 49ers team that I believe we will see then. But so I don't want to get too caught up in what we just saw, but nothing makes me want to back the Packers. Let's take a look at the total here in this one. I imagine the Vikings will just get hammered. At least we're seeing the market move on it. Sitting at a under 43, it is juiced to -110. So we've had a 3-cent move to the under. Let's get over to the cash flow here for this one. 21% of the tickets and 65% of the cash is on the Packers. So big bets have come in on the Packers, and yet this line is moving towards the Vikings. From a total scenario, you have 73% of the tickets and 90% of cash on the under, not really moving from where it is. Birdie says he'll be betting Green Bay in this game. Says just let this line continue to go up. Who is not betting the Vikings off beating the Niners? Horrible spot for the Vikings here, a season-defining win. And we've talked often about what happens after you play the 49ers, too. They're a physical group. Sure, it didn't look too physical last night, but they're a physical group. The Vikings are on short rest since their 22-17 win at home last night over the Niners. 452 yards of offense against that tough 49er defense. Kirk Cousins, as Troy was saying, 35 of 45, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Jordan Addison had a monster game. I really believe that'll be the last time that Osborne and Addison will get sort of the same attention. We talked about that pregame, and that was the reason we were all on Addison touchdown. They need him to step up with Justin Jefferson on the IR, and now he's got a ton of confidence going into this one. Hawkinson caught 11 passes for 86 yards. Alexander Madison continues to do very little on the ground, 8 carries for 39 yards. Cam Akers had more carries than him. Cam had 10 for 31. They were 8 for 13 on third down, much better than they've been all year. They're ranked 26th in the league, converting just 34.2% of their third downs. They were 0-2 in the red zone. They continue to struggle there. They're 20th in the league, getting touchdowns 52.9% of their opportunities. Ezra Cleveland didn't play, but Dalton Risner, we remember Dalton. He looked good. He was fine. Now, Marcus Davenport was placed on the IR earlier in the week, last week. And now you can double Danielle Hunter with impunity. And Davenport signed that 1-year, $13 million contract in the offseason to take some of the pressure off of Hunter. And now you double Hunter. Hunter had the lone sack, 2 of their 3 quarterback hits, but this is going to be a problem moving forward. Cameron Bynum had 2 interceptions. The defense is not good. And just because they, shut down that 49er squad, I don't think that we should think that they're good now. They're tied for 26th in the league, allowing touchdowns on 66.7% of opponents' red zone drives. The 49ers were 5 for 9 on third down. This Vikings team is 25th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 43.5% of their third down opportunities. The Packers come in off a tough 19-17 loss at Denver. The offense did not look good. Shut out in the first half. During their last 4 games, the Packers have been outscored 63-6 in the first half. Unbelievably bad. They ranked 28th in the league, averaging 281.6 yards per game. Jordan Love, 21-31 for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. No receivers could do anything. No receiver caught for more than A.J. Dillon's 34 yards. Dillon also ran 50 times for 61 yards. Aaron Jones returned from the pulled hamstring. He gained 58 yards. They were 6 of 14 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. They've been very good this year in the red zone. Touchdowns on 62.5% of their opportunities. That's 6th in the league. The Green Bay defense could not get enough pressure. Finished 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Held the Broncos to just 1 of 4 in the red zone. Their rush defense is bad. They let the Broncos run for 145 yards, which is right around their average. The Packers are ranked 28th in the league, allowing 143.4 yards per game. So you look at Madison, and that's not an advantage. This is a great spot for the Packers because Madison's not going to hurt you on the ground, and either is Cam Akers, and that's clearly their weak spot. Their defensive lineman, Devontae Wyatt, is questionable. Safety Darnell Savage hurt his calf. He's doubtful this week. Cornerback Eric Stokes is listed as questionable with a hammy. Luke Musgrave left after the legal hit by Jackson. And with David Bakhtiari out for the year, the Packers could get some help on the offensive line. Luke Tenuta is expected to return after the IR stint. So because everybody just saw the Vikings beat the 49ers, I don't want the Minnesota Vikings. And I don't want the Green Bay Packers. So where should I look? And the under is probably the most appealing thing right now. But I'll have a better idea of what I should do after I read the chat and hear what you have to say about this game, Troy. Take it away, Vikings, Packers.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of it. I just wanted to say, just piggyback on what I said about Kirk Cousins. This guy has been incredible. Best play action success rate in the NFL. He also, just like Baker Mayfield, they have the two high. It's funny how the two highest play action teams can't run the football at all. The only difference is the Bucs win at the offensive line in the run blocking game. They just have no running backs that could deliver yards after the run or after contact. And here's the best thing about the Vikings is they actually have combined with between pass blocking and run blocking the best offensive line in the NFL. That's how it's grading out so far this year to date. I think it's one of the best coached teams in the NFL. When you look at Brian Flores on the defensive side, who continues to have success despite having such a lack of talent. I think there's a huge hole on that defensive roster. They're very bad. They're good on the defensive line and bad everywhere else. And when it comes to the Packers, yeah, sure. They're coming off 3 consecutive losses. They're coming back to the house. Jordan Love is not grading out very well on his report card. However, when he's blitzed, and we know the Vikings like to blitz at 50, 60%, that's actually where his best numbers are. His best touchdown to interception ratio, his best efficiency, all of his efficiency metrics are the best when he's blitzed. So I think that's actually very heavily favors the Packers. And sorry, I can't catch my words. I'm running off like no sleep at this point, trying to put together as much as I can for you guys. So just try to work with me when I can't catch my tongue. But in this game, I already backed the Packers. I took the Packers at 1.5. I couldn't wait. Something I probably should have been more patient on, like Bertie said in the chat. But I do plan on allocating more units to this game. If this number starts getting up to 2.5, 3, if they hang a 3, I'll definitely hammer it. I just don't trust the Vikings. You get them away from that dome, get them outside, get a pissed off Packers team, and you get the Vikings, a bad team, in my opinion, off a win against the 49ers. It's a perfect spot. So I'm on the Packers, and I'll probably be heavier invested when this line moves.
Yeah, this makes sense. It makes sense. I don't think either team is good here. I don't think either team is good here.
I agree.
And I'm starting to prefer to stay off. Sky Dragon said the first half under if you made him bet it, but pass. And Spenny Pennybombs is on the over. Says 4 of the last 5 mini games in Green Bay have gone over. Yeah, I think your look on the Packers makes a ton of sense. I'm going to watch this line very closely. When we go back to it right now, it's probably a better look to judge it by what's gone on on the money line rather than the +1 to the -1. So what it's done is it has very quickly before we move on to the next spot on the board, Green Bay sitting at +104, and they opened up at -106. So 10 cents of movement. Interesting.
You know what, Jimmy? That's another thing is that when these home favorites flip the home dogs, the home team is the right side, historically speaking.
That's wild. Yeah, I think I don't want the Vikings under any. There's just no chance I'll be on the Vikings, and the Vikings' inability to run the ball to hurt the biggest weakness of the Green Bay Packers I imagine will be detrimental here. So I'm interested in your Packers. So I'm going to leave question marks by it, not asterisks, but question marks. And Charlie Chip says Vikings and Akers will destroy. Charlie, everybody, there's going to be an enormous amount of public on the Vikings after everybody watching Monday night. Short week against the angry Packers team that's been losing. Very, very, very interesting spot. Troy's already moved on the Packers +1.5. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Atlanta Falcons 4-3, 1-2 on the road at the Tennessee Titans, 2-4, 2-1 at home at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. 78 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. Let's get right into the line history here for this one. Let me get over to spreads as I'm on the money line. See what we are dealing with. Falcons, Titans. This one should be fun. Of course, the Titans off of the bye. We last saw them in London, England, and we don't know who will be at quarterback for them at this point. They're sitting at plus 2.5, minus 102. They opened up at plus 2.5, minus 106. So we've had 4 cents of movement towards the Falcons. From a total scenario, we're very, very low. This opened up at 37 at minus 107. And it's taken 13 cents of juice even at 37, all the way to minus 120 here. Spenny Pennybomb says, give me the Titans. Says, wants to fade Ritter. Wants to fade Ritter and Atlanta. There's Harold Williams in the house. Great to see you, Harold. Sky Dragon says, yeah, I really like Tennessee as long as Willis doesn't start. Tannehill or Levis. Falcons come in off a 16-13 win at Tampa. They were able to overcome the 3 costly fumbles by Desmond Ritter, 2 of which came in the red zone. Ritter finished 19-25 for 250 yards, no touches, no touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 6 times for 38 yards. Drake London caught 6 passes for 54 yards, and Kyle Pitts caught a 39-yard pass on the game-winning drive. He was invisible up to that point. I think he caught 7 yards at that, but made the big play. Bijan Robinson's sick. He'll be good to go this week. Tyler Algier ran 21 times for 59 yards, caught 3 for 53. And Younghoe Koo is clutch. There's a big 51-yard field goal with no time left. Defense was strong throughout, held the Bucs to 0 for 2 in the red zone. That continues to be a strength for the Falcons, 5th in the league, allowing opponents to convert just 38.89% of their red zone opportunities. And they're 3rd in the league on 3rd down, allowing conversions just 31.1% of the time. You put those together, and that's why we cash unders with them constantly. They finished with 3 sacks and 6 quarterback hits, and Richie Grant had a pick, and Tay Davis, the linebackers, in concussion protocol. Titans coming off that bye week. They've lost 2 straight and 11 of 13 now, dating back to last year. And I thought that the bye was going to be enough for Ryan Tannehill, but that was a mistake and misguided, because it's the same injury that cost him 2 starts last season. It's ended the season early. He's no longer using anything to help him walk, but he won't be available at practice. He's not going to be available tomorrow at practice either. So Malik Willis or Will Levis is the situation. The offense has not improved under new offensive coordinator Tim Kelly. They're averaging 17.3 points per game. They averaged 17.5 last year when they were 28th in the league offensively. They have the NFL's longest active streak of 24 straight games scoring fewer than 30 points. We remember we were on that under in the UK, and it was moving towards the over, but we still were like, I don't care. These teams are perfect for red zone failures. Treylon Burks, 18th overall pick in 2022. He's missed 3 straight left knee injury. He's going to be available this week. The Titans rank 29th. This offensive line has allowed 23 sacks, and Nicholas Petit Frere should have a chance to start at left tackle. And now Peter Skoronski, their 11th overall pick, has now played 2 straight games. Remember, he had the emergency appendectomy. So if Petit Frere and Skoronski can get comfortable, that will change. The offensive line will change. Their defense is allowing just 19.5 points per game, but can't get enough turnovers. And they allowed the Ravens to convert 8 of 16 on 3rd down, scoring 5 of their first 6 possessions. But their 3rd down defense, 19th, 40.7% of the time they're allowing conversions. But the Titans forced Baltimore to settle for 6 field goals, 5 inside the 20, and that's why we were on the under. Their red zone defense is excellent, 3rd in the league, allowing touchdowns on 30.4% of their drives, and their run defense is very, very good. And that's what Falcons excel in. They excel in the run game. T.R. Tart also going to be back. He missed 2 games. And then on Monday, they traded away Kevin Byard to the Eagles. And so now, after saying all of this, I want to know who's at quarterback for the Titans, because that's the only place I want to go right now. And I can't put together a proper game script until I know who is at quarterback. Take it away for us here, Troy. Falcons, Titans.
Yeah, so sorry.
It's all good. Buddy.
So in this game, the first thing I want to know is, can the Titans stop the run? Right now, they got a pretty low grade on PFF. I was surprised to see, but when I watch it, that's not what I see with my eyes. And it's probably because once they get on their own half of the field, they sturdy up a lot like the Bucs do, but they've been doing this for years now. I mean, both these teams like to play close games. To make this game really easy, I thought it was best to just tease the Titans up. It is a perfect spot to tease the Titans up. As a home dog, the Titans are 10-0 the last 2.5 years on a teaser leg. So I think it's a perfect spot to keep this game close and take a Titans on a teaser. And I'm teasing them with a team. All these games, I'm teasing with one particular team. So we'll get to that game later.
Yeah, and as Brady's saying, Vrabel said they'll both play, but he has not ruled out Tannehill. But I want more information here, because if it's Malik Willis and Will Levis combo, do you have any hope in the Titans if that's the case? Malik Willis and then Will Levis coming in and out?
Yeah, that's why I took it now. I mean, I could have easily waited for this number to move past 3, which I think it will. In that case, I'll probably just take the Titans on the spread. I don't think this Falcons team is very good, to be honest. And I'd definitely be looking to take Vrabel and the Titans, even with the backups at the house. And on that teaser leg too. So you blindly bet Titans as a home dog on a teaser leg, 10-0 past 2.5 years. If you blindly fade the Falcons on a teaser leg as road favorites, 16-2 on a teaser, that's 90%. I mean, both of those are giving you profit there.
I want the Titans here. I didn't realize that I did. If
it's a game of field goals, I mean, I'd love to have the Titans in this little spread.
All right. Well, I didn't realize I want to. I'm not going to move on them tonight because this is only come from us capping this one. But the Titans interest me, and we have our guy Troy with a teaser. The teaser's Lions -2, Titans +8.5. We'll get into all of that here shortly. Let's roll on. Next up for us is New Orleans Saints at Indianapolis Colts. The Saints 3-4, 2-2 on the road. Colts 3-4, 1-3 at home. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. What a wild football team the Colts have become. It's, Minshew out there fumbling the ball all over the place, running for touchdowns, throwing how many times did he throw? I mean, Derek Carr threw 55 times last week. What did Minshew only threw 23 times? Only 23 times. Still threw for 305 yards. 7 turnovers Minshew has in 2 games since taking over from Anthony Richardson. Just oh God, it's a horror show over there. And those calls were inane. They should not have been called. The Colts should have won that football game, but that would have knocked Jeff Slaughter out of the Pub Sports Radio Survivor pool. So it's nice that Jeff sticks around. All right, let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Saints, Colts. And we have the total sitting at 43.5. It opened up at 41.5. So we've moved 2 points to the over. That's a big move towards the over. And then we have the Colts -1.5 and -104 with very little movement, almost no movement. Let's get into the cash flow here for this one. We have the 49% of the tickets and 63% of the cash on the under, and yet this total's climbing. 50-50 ticket-wise, but 65% of the money on these Colts. Saints come in off extra rest after their 31-24 loss at home versus Jags in last week's Thursday nighter. It was another Jekyll and Hyde performance from Derek Carr. Sometimes he looked awful. Sometimes he looked good. It's hard to figure him out. 33-55, 301 yards, a touchdown and a pick. But they were 3 of 18 on third down. 3 of 18 on third down, and somehow they were that one Foster Moreau drop from tying this game at 31. They ranked 24th in the league, converting 34.3% of their third downs. They put up 407 yards of offense, but they were just 2 of 5 in the red zone. They've been bad there all year. 28th in scoring touchdowns in the red zone, 37.5% of their red zone drives. I mean, that's bad. Alvin Kamara all over the field, 17 carries for 62 yards, caught 12 for 91. Olave looks great too, 7 for 57. The defense that we thought was strong looked awful. Now, they did hold the Jags to 2 of 11 on third down. They're second in the league holding teams to 30.5% third down conversion rate. But the Jags averaged 5.9 yards per play, and they were 2 of 2 in the red zone on them. So they're 16th, allowing teams to score 52.6% of their red zone drives. There was no pass rush to speak of either. Nothing. 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits. And I don't trust Blake Grupe at all. The last thing I want is to have a bet on the line and see Blake Grupe walking out there to kick the field goal. The Colts coming off that wild 39-38 loss at home versus the Browns. They lost despite picking up 150 more total yards than the Browns. Colts finished with 456 yards of offense. We talked about what Minshew's done with the fumbling and the picks, but he's done some things well. And Josh Downs is rolling 5 catches for 125 and a touchdown. Pittman caught 2 for 83. Jonathan Taylor had his first big game of the season. So now they have the two-headed monster in effect. Jonathan Taylor ran 18 times for 75 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 for 45. Zach Moss added 18 carries for 57 yards. They went 7 of 15 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. And they did that against the best, what we thought was the best defense in the league. Now their defense looked horrible against PJ Walker. They couldn't get pressure. They couldn't get enough stops. They held the Browns to 4 of 16 on third down, but they went 2 of 2 in the red zone. And they're good in third down. We thought, they allow 37.5% third down conversions. Their red zone defense allows TDs 57.9% of the time, 21st in the league. They got 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. They lost Juju Brents to a quad injury. We're going to find out tomorrow with the injury report how bad it is. And Isaiah McKenzie's in concussion protocol. Take it away for us here, Troy. Saints, Colts. Floor is yours.
I honestly thought I would not have anything to do with this game, but after hearing you, I started to kind of lean away too as I'm reading back through my notes. So the Colts put up serious points on the Browns, but if you go back and really just dissect that game, it's not what it seems to be. He had 305 yards passing, but 165 of those yards came on 3 different plays, 2 of which were neutral zone infractions where Myles Garrett just tried to jump the snap on a third down. Both of them were on 3rd and 7. Tried to jump the snap, and they ended up hitting verticals. One went 59 yards for a touchdown, and the other head was like Alec Pierce for like 40 yards. The third play was Pittman making a 75-yard catch and run for a touchdown, again on a cover 0 situation where it was just a broken tackle that happens to a great defense. That's 165 yards. You take that away from that offense, and there's 3 touchdowns off the board. I just think there was a lot of luck involved with what the Colts were able to do on that offensive side. And I still thought the defense was pretty stout, but it was versus PJ Walker in a pretty shitty Browns offense. I watched this whole game because I was heavily invested in the Browns. If I didn't have the money line, I would have went 0-4 on this spot, as I had the Colts team total under, which was dead almost immediately. And the Saints, I've been saying this team is not to be trusted. I've been talking about Derek Carr and how bad his numbers are. He's visibly frustrated with everybody on the offense, the offensive line. He's throwing up his hands at his receivers. It's not something you want to be backing. However, I just think it's a good spot to fade the Colts. The Saints are in a must-win situation, in my opinion. I know the Colts, you could argue that the Colts are too, but I just feel like this is a spot it's just shaping up for the Saints to bounce back. They have a great secondary. Minshew should turn the ball over more, and as long as Carr protects the ball and doesn't turn the ball over, Saints should be able to get the job done in this spot. And the Saints have a good run defense. Like I talk about who the Saints have played against a lot, their strength of schedule from an offensive their defense facing offenses. It's really weak. It's not impressive. But here's another not impressive offense, in my opinion. I think it just fits well for this Saints defense to be very good on defense and do enough offensively to get it done. I just haven't moved on it yet.
I feel like the volatility with the Colts is ludicrous.
Ridiculous.
It's just out of control. I don't know what the hell Minshew is going to give you. I don't know what that 2-headed monster is going to give you. They need this. The Saints need Ramczyk back badly. He's questionable with a concussion. They need him protecting. But it's obviously people just saw both of these teams that we think are not these high-scoring squads put up a ton of points, and both games that they were playing soared over. So the public's going to be betting this over, and it looks like the books are a little concerned because of that. But I don't want to fade the Colts at home. I only want to try to find reasons to back them. And I think that Minshew is going to be much more conservative here.
Well, the Saints don't really put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I mean, they're really good on the run. They get their hands. They bat a lot of passes, but it's not like they're sacking and pressuring the quarterback all that much. It's totally reasonable to make angles for the Colts here at the same time. And I love what Steichen's doing in general, man. They have some good skill players on offense. But Minshew, under pressure, if the Saints can't apply pressure on Minshew, Colts are going to win the game. That's where you find the answer to this game. Will the Saints be able to draw pressure on Minshew?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because you gave us those stats last week about what Minshew had done. You sent them in from the hospital.
Yeah, and they got even worse after last week.
Yeah, I don't This is not the volatility with the Colts makes me not want to put money down on them right now. But I do have their over 6.5 wins, so I do like that spot. No action for me, Troy. You are leaning towards the Saints.
I'm leaning, but I won't have my money on this game.
Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. New England Patriots at Miami Dolphins. Patriots 2-5, 1-2 on the road. Dolphins 5-2, 3-0 at home. We're at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. 83 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 15 mile per hour. Kurt Gray with 16 NFL games to cap and break down, and 16 NHL games. I chose football tonight to focus all my energy on today and last night. So that's all I'm focused on. So I have no help there for NHL. I apologize. Here we go. Let's get to work, get into the line history of this one. Patriots, Dolphins. Start with the side right now. We have the Dolphins at -8.5. That's juiced to -117. This opened up at 10.5. Opened up at 10.5. The Patriots, 10.5 was a pick 'em. And then it went 11 cents towards these Patriots, and the line moved briskly. It got up to -125. This is yesterday at 5 p.m. And then it dropped all the way down to 8. And that's a 2.5 point drop. So then there was a half point of buyback. And that 8.5 is at -117. It's juiced. So there are 9s everywhere else. Let's get into the total for this one. We're sitting at a 47. This opened up 47 -107 to the under. So we've had 8 cents of movement to the under. It's now -115, but the initial move was towards the over, but it's flipped back towards the under. Let's get into the cash flow for this one. We have 47% of the tickets and 60% of the cash on the Miami Dolphins. And then we have 75% of tickets and 99% of the cash on the under. Now there's only 7,600 tickets in, and we'll hit 300,000 tickets on this one. Sky Dragon says under 47. Says New England Miami series history, all unders. Says New England will play back all game, force two at a dink and dunk. We saw this a few weeks ago. Under is a very easy play, says Sky Dragon. New England snapped their 3-game losing streak with a 29-25 victory at home over the Bills. After scoring 20 points combined in their 3 previous games, they put up 29 and 364 yards. They averaged 12 points per game. That's what they average. Mac Jones was 25 for 30 for 272 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. He actually looked okay. Kendrick Bourne caught 6 of them for 63 yards and a touchdown, but he did lose a fumble. Ramondre Stevenson caught 9 for 34, ran 9 times for 34, caught 6 for 51. Their red zone offense, I mean, they have such funny stats. Their red zone offense is 3rd in the league, scoring 70%. They're scoring 70% of their drives. So after they allow 72 points combined in losses to the Cowboys and Saints, they lose Matt Judon, they lose Christian Gonzalez, their quarterbacks of the defense and their star first-round draft pick in the secondary. They're beginning to look a little better. They allowed 21 to the Raiders, 25 to the Bills. Of course, Belichick will figure things out. And he picked up J.C. Jackson. They're 24th in the league, allowing 25.3 points per game, but they're still 7th in the league in red zone defense. They only allow touchdowns on 45% of the drives. Defense had a sack and 6 quarterback hits, and Jabril Peppers was all over the field, 9 tackles and a pick. Dolphins coming off a tough 31-17 loss at Philadelphia. I don't remember. There was some games this weekend. It was for our live streams. I don't remember games being that easy. The Eagles was just one of those rare spots where you're certain of something and it just comes to fruition. Now, it was a 1-score game with the Dolphins driving before big play Slay caught that interception, but it shouldn't have been a 1-score game even. This high-octane offense was held to just 12 first downs by the Eagles. Eagles made 6 trips into the red zone. Dolphins made 1. The offense leads the league with 80.8% TD rate in the red zone. They went 0 for 1 versus the Eagles. The number 1 offense was held to 244 total yards. They had 10 points and 113 yards in the first half, both season lows. Tua was 23 of 32 for 216 yards, touchdown and a pick. Tyreek, 11 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. And Waddle caught 6 for 63. Raheem Mostert is not that good. And he's not going to shine against tough Ds. And he ran 9 times for 45 yards. The Dolphins were held to 4 for 11 on 3rd down. They're 7th in the league, converting 44.1% of those. The defense didn't get enough pressure on Hurts. They finished with 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Jerome Baker returned an interception for a touchdown. The Dolphins' 5 wins this season have come, and we talked about this all the time, but have come against teams with a combined record of 8-25. So the only other team they faced with a winning record was the Bills, and they smashed them. Isaiah Wynn left with a quad injury. He's questionable. So the Dolphins have Jalen Ramsey, cornerback, Teron Armstead, star tackle, and Devon A. Chan on IR. Xavier Howard did not play. That was my plan all along. I was hoping he wouldn't play with the groin injury. He's listed as questionable this week. And Connor Williams now missed 2 straight games with the groin injury, and he's listed as questionable. Take it away for us here, Troy. Patriots, Dolphins. Do you agree with DG, who's bullish on the under?
I want to see more line movement with this total, because I will be eyeing up these totals, but I definitely need more line movement, more line history to do that. But for this game, immediately you want to back the Dolphins in a smash spot. It's top caliber team off a loss versus a team who overperformed when they played against the Bills and the Patriots. The only issue is I think it's too early to crown the Dolphins a top caliber team. Who have they beaten? The teams they've beaten combined for a 5-24 record straight up, which is not enough to prove to me that they deserve to be considered a top caliber team. And I watched almost every play of this Patriots-Bills game. Be it an injury, Bills riddled defense, say what it is, but they beat them in all 3 phases of the football game: offense, defense, special teams. The noise-canceled score had a wider margin of 29-22. They had 5 drives into the red zone, 3 touchdowns from those drives. And Mac Jones, like I said earlier, best rating in the past 2 seasons. Ultimately, I would be looking to back the Patriots in this game, but I have too much. I'm still working through scar tissue with this team from earlier in the season. I can't be back in the Patriots, and I definitely won't be back in the Dolphins. So I'm off this game. But the total is definitely going to be interesting to see how it develops.
Well, you know what Belichick's going to do, right? He's so good at taking away another team's best weapon.
He's already done it once, but he did have Gonzalez out there.
J.C. Jackson, I mean, there's a reason why he signed the $82 million contract. I know he looked bad with the Chargers and was let go, but there's a reason why that contract was signed.
Can they win? Can they hold the ball on offense long enough? I think that's also going to be part of it. Take away Tyreek Hill and be methodical on offense. You have to get first downs.
If you look at the stats from, you have to kind of pick the spots here, because this Patriots offense put up those points against this beleaguered Bills defense. And that's the reason why I'm going to be on the over on the Thursday nighter, which, for better or for worse, I know the primetime unders have been cashing, but I believe that that's what needs to be done. And the problem I have here is that the Dolphins are angry and they have motivation. That's the only thing that concerns me. But Mostert can't smash, and he can't play between the hash marks. He can't go into the teeth of the defense. And if you're not concerned about Mostert, then you can really focus your energy on stopping the Tyreek and Waddle. So I agree with this under. I agree that this is a Belichick situation that he should be great at. So I don't know if I'm going to move on it tonight, but I agree with the sentiment here. And
this total creeps down. I mean, this is right near the range I was talking about earlier with the Cowboys. It's at 47. If we see a 46 pop, I will be moving on this under. I'm going to mark it down, make asterisks and all that.
I mean, the whole goal for Belichick will be, take away Tyreek and keep them off the field. So it'll be, Zeke and Ramondre all day. So I'm going to need more time.
Do you think people scoff at maybe you scoff at it, Jimmy? Does it make sense to you? I'm kind of it's kind of counterintuitive how I do it, but I would rather take a 46 knowing that Pinnacle moved that line down than take a 47 as it sits right now.
No, I get it. I can understand it, and it's working for you. Al Civic says, why are you dumping on Mostert having a hell of a season? Just because I know who he really is. I've watched him through his whole career. So he's got the perfect football team, because you have to be so concerned with the wide receivers. I just don't think. I think he's a fine backup. Sure. I mean, he can change speeds and things like that, but I've seen him. I've watched him. That's all. Let's roll on, though. We roll on. That under is very, very interesting. Move on to the New York Jets at New York Giants. Jets 3-3, 1-1 on the road. Giants 2-5, 1-2 at home. We're at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 68 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history for this one. We'll start with the side. Jets, Giants. Now, this is really a 2.5. Pinnacle showing a 3, but it's not a real 3. It's minus 123 to the Giants. But it does go to show you what's happened here. This opened up with the Giants plus 3 at plus 101, and then they went to plus 109. This went to plus 110 even yesterday at 8:30 in the morning. Plus 3 at plus 110. So that gives you an idea of what's happened here. 33 cents of movement. 33 cents of movement from that point towards the New York Giants. I mean, that's huge. That's big. And it's, a key number coming off the 3 and down to the 2.5. This total is very low, sitting at 37. It opened up at 36. So it's gone up a point to 37. DG says, I really like the Giants here. Says, what the heck is New York Jets doing laying 3 on a neutral? And the Harold Williams saying that the Finns should win by 10 or way more in that one. We'll see. But let's stick with Jets Giants right now. Let's get over to the cash flow for this one. And we have 59% of the tickets and 73% of cash on the under. And we've got 46% of tickets and 70% of cash on the Jets. Line moving towards the Giants. Jets coming off their bye week. They were last seeing that big Week 6, 2014 win at home over the Eagles, 3-3, despite having been trailing at the half in every game this year. I mean, that's wild. Zach Wilson has looked much better. Went 28 of 39 for 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers in that loss to the Chiefs. He went 19 for 26 for 199 yards, no touchdowns and a pick in that 31-21 win at Denver. Then he went 19 of 33 for 186 yards without a touchdown or a turnover in the 2014 victory over Philadelphia. They were just 2 for 11 on third down. They're last in the league, converting just 25% of red zone opportunities. So what's changed? The only thing that's changed is Zach Wilson's not making terrible mistakes. He's not throwing interceptions. He's trying to be as conservative as possible because this defense is very good. That's what's changed. The Jets were 1 for 4 in the red zone. They're 29.4% on the season. That's only better than the Steelers at 28.6%. So the only change really is he's not making mistakes. That's it in my mind. He's just not trying to do too much. They hope to have, but we expect to have both Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed back. But Salah said yesterday they're still in concussion protocol. Dwayne Brown is eligible to return from the IR this week. But Salah again said he wants to see how Brown looks on the field through practice before he makes a decision on that. And their offensive lineman, Joe Tippmann, is a thigh injury. So he's going to be out for a few weeks, which makes me think that Dwayne Brown will come back. But we'll have to see on both of those. Giants coming off snapping their 4-game losing streak with a 14-7 win at home over the Commanders. You have to trust the market. And if you saw the market in that game, you knew that something was up. And I wish I was smart enough to have then trusted the Giants, which I wasn't, but at least I stayed off. Tyrod Taylor, 18-29 for 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 8 for 25. The offensive line still struggles protecting him. I mean, nothing's changed there. He was sacked 4 times. So it would really help to get Andrew Thomas back and even John Michael Schmitz, the center back. Both are questionable. And now Evan Neal's also questionable for this week with an ankle injury. So because of the Evan Neal injury, they had to change their starting lineup for the 6th time in 7 games, and they looked a little better. Justin Pugh at left tackle, Marcus McKeithen at left guard, Bredesen at center, Glowinski at right guard, and Tyree Phillips at right tackle. Darren Waller caught 7 passes for 98 yards and a touchdown. The Giants offense had not scored a touchdown in 3+ games, 14 and 2/3 quarters before Waller got that touchdown. Jalen Hyatt caught 2 for 75. Saquon ran 21 for 77 and caught 3 for 41. He did lose a fumble. So did Sterling Shepard. But the defense was excellent. This is the best they've looked. Okereke was great, 11 tackles. Dexter Lawrence was a monster, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. The team combined for 6 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. They held the Commanders to 1 of 15 on third down. They have terrible stats there. So the defense is better than the stats indicate, because they're 26th in the league, allowing conversions 43.7% of the time. They held the Commanders to 1 for 2 in the red zone. They're 23rd in the league there, allowing TDs on 61.9% of opponent opportunities. But they held Josh Allen and the Bills to 297 yards 2 weeks ago. And then last week, they held the Commanders down. Daniel Jones remains questionable. He's not received medical clearance for contact. He's not going to get that clearance anytime soon, I think. Now, that could blow up my face saying that now on a Tuesday, but that's my expectation. And they need Adoree Jackson available. He's questionable as well. Take it away for us here. Troy, the Battle of New York, MetLife Stadium. Makes me think of the movie Warriors. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I would definitely. I started off looking at this game thinking I would be on the Giants +3, and now it's starting to move down to 2.5. And usually that'd be a good sign. It hasn't been that way. You know, the database doesn't suggest that that's been a very strong move, but it is, right? You're getting off that key 3. Maybe it's just the small sample that I have, but the Giants, I mean, I just can't get over when I start looking into the Giants what I find. Right now, PFF has them rated as the very last team in the NFL. I know things change with Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. Okay, I get that. Against top 10 defenses, they lost by 40, 18, and 21, and that's the Cowboys, Niners, and Seahawks. Deficit of 26 points on average, and that's where I started to look towards the Jets. The Jets defense is starting to experience favorable regression. And I talked about this when they matched up with the Broncos. People were selling this defense short, but they look at the strength of schedule. They played against the Bills when the Bills were full strength, and it was the offense is still healthy. Cowboys, Chiefs, and the Eagles, and they went 2-2 in those games. I mean, I think this Jets team has proven they could win games. That's why they're the favorites in this game. I think them opening as the favorites at 3 is the more strong sign in the market than the line going from 3 to 2.5. At some point, it's hard. And here's actually the interesting part about this. If you look at the market, what do you have for cash flow, Jim? I'm seeing 46% tickets, 70% cash on the Jets right now.
Yeah, let me pull that up. I might have missed.
Let's see if we're correlating.
Oh yeah, I did talk about 45% tickets, 70% cash on the Jets.
Yeah. So in this spot, when this total drops from 3 to 2.5, all matters is where the sharp action is. It's the sharp action is 6-0. So I'm going to be watching this market pretty closely. And if this is shaping up to be this way on Sunday, hopefully the Giants keep getting bet down. I wouldn't mind I'll take a Jets at a pick 'em. I don't care. Yeah, but if the sharp action remains where it is right now, I'll be back in the Jets.
Interesting. Interesting. Very, very low total from 36 to 37. Did you have any feel for that one? It's probably really sharp. I mean, the final score is probably 2017.
It's probably really, really sharp. And all those totals, even though I have a bunch of under trends, even if this market ticks up, I have trends that point to the under, but it's not by margin. I mean, these scores are all hovering right around that 32 to 38. You know, it's really sharp.
Well, I don't want the Jets here, and I think that we might have talked myself off of the Giants, but something real is happening with their defense, and for the Giants, that's all. Something real is happening, and giving Zach Wilson a couple weeks to think about things, I don't think is helpful. I don't, him feeling good about himself now, not being the pariah that he's been all his career. And the Jets are happy to be 3-3. This will be a great, fun game to watch. Yeah, I like the low scoring games, anyways. This doesn't concern me. But at this point, I can't move on it.
There's got to be some under out there. Maybe it's in the player prop market. Maybe it's in the first half, first quarter, somewhere in the derivative markets. But I think that there's somewhere there's a gold mine and an under in this game. So I'll probably be looking for that as well.
And you may end up on the Jets, is what you're saying still.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars 5-2, 3-0 on the road. Pittsburgh Steelers 4-2, 2-1 at home at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 67 Fahrenheit, showers, 8 miles per hour. Let's get right into the line history here for this one. And Pittsburgh was very good to me. Very, very good to me. It's a perfect spot, man. We just keep seeing them in these perfect spots for Tomlin. Tomlin off a bye. Tomlin is a dog at 3, and the market moved against us, and it was still a very easy casher. Right now, they're back in that sweet spot. They opened up, though, as just 1-point dogs. Now, that was at plus 104, so it was a legit 1.5. And then they moved to 2.5. And I don't want to get caught up. We understand the biases that are in our subconscious, and obviously I just cashed on the Steelers, and the Steelers have been very good to me this year. That's why I just kind of want to be on them again, but I'm not on them as of now. This total opened up at 41. It's now at 42. Gone up a point. Let's take a look at the cash here. It's 50-50 on the tickets, but 61% of the cash is on the Steelers, and yet this market move goes against them. It's 45% of the tickets on the under and 98% of the cash, but it's gone up a point. Al Cervix says he's batting Pittsburgh. Harold Williams has an early lean to the Steelers, and Spenny Penny Bombs is on Jacksonville -2.5. Brady says Pitt money line, no rush. Jags are going to get the money. Jacksonville comes in off extra rest after winning their fourth straight game, 31-24 at New Orleans in last week's Thursday nighter. They're off to their best start since opening 5-2 back in 2007. Despite dealing with the sprained right knee, Trevor Lawrence was strong, 20-29 for 204 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 8 times for 59 yards. Christian Kirk caught 6 passes for 90 yards and a touchdown, but he did lose a fumble. Etienne ran 14 times for 53 yards, caught 3 for 24. He became the first player in Jaguars history to rush for 2 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games. But they were held to 2 for 11 on third down. They've struggled on third down all year. They ranked 27th, converting just 34% of their third downs. And the defense looked vulnerable, very vulnerable. They allowed the Saints to put up 407 total yards. Now, they did hold the Saints to 3 of 18 on third down and 2 of 5 in the red zone, but the Jags' numbers, both in third down and red zone, are very mediocre defensively. And Tyson Campbell and Walker Little are both listed as questionable to suit up after missing last week. I think that was the biggest surprise for me in that football game on Thursday night was the Jaguars' offensive line protecting Trevor Lawrence very well. The Steelers coming off a big 24-17 win at the Rams. They've won 6 straight following a bye. They're 13-4 after a bye in Tomlin's head coaching career. Kenny Pickett was 17 for 25 for 230 yards. Pickens caught 5 for 107. Deontay Johnson caught 5 for 79. Najee Harris continues to struggle on the ground. He doesn't look good out there. Ran 14 times for 53 yards a touchdown. I mean, those aren't bad numbers, but it just doesn't look good. Caught 3 for 15. The Steelers had 91 yards of offense in the first half and didn't convert a single third down. But they went 3 of 3 in the red zone. So the much maligned Matt Canada gets a bit of a reprieve. They're still last in the league. They go 3 for 3. They're still last in the league, converting 28.6% of their opportunities. But could this offense be improving? I think it is improving. I think it's clear that it's improving. And that's, the total going from 41 to 42, 41.5 to 42.5 makes sense to me. The defense bent but didn't break. They allowed the Rams to go 9 for 16 on third down. They're just 15th in the league in red zone defense as well. They allow opponents to convert 38.2% of the time. The defense did not have an enormous pass rush. 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. TJ Watt had another big interception. Take it away here for us, Troy. Jaguars, Steelers at Acrisure.
Yeah, so immediately this game starts looking exactly like that Pittsburgh Tomlin type of spot you want to back, and it just looks so right to back them after their offense is starting to step up a little bit after having such a lackluster start to the season. They went 3 for 3 in the red zone. That kind of blew my mind when I checked the box score. Seeing that, I had to go rewatch the game because I couldn't believe it. I actually liked what I seen out of Kenny Pickett this past few games. He had a good spray chart, 9.2 yards per attempt, and his PFF grade is uptrending each and every week with every single game. And it's good to see that out of a young quarterback. On the opposite side, it makes me think of Baker Mayfield and how he's downtrending his PFF grade every single week. Canada, he's a piece of trash. And I just have to say what it is. I don't think he has what it takes to call offense at the NFL level. Maybe he's old school. Maybe he's stuck in his ways. Maybe he knows something I don't know about his offensive line, but there's some metrics that I find that I just can't believe. And he fades some play, some schemes or, play action specifically. He doesn't run any play action. And that's where Kenny Pickett has had incredible success this year and last year. And he barely runs any crossing routes. He has no routes crossing the field. And finally, we've seen that this week, and they're able to hit a couple of those, and they actually turn into some big plays. But it's hard to trust this offense with Canada at the helm in general. And the Steelers defense is what it is. Top 5 in takeaways, top 5 pass rush, struggle a little bit to stop the run. They're built a little bit like the Browns, in my opinion, because they're boom or bust. I mean, they're trying to force something defensively, leaving them exposed to some extent. And I think that's kind of reflected in some of these defensive grades and defensive numbers we've seen with both the Browns and the Steelers. And the Jags, is it time to start going back and shorten the Jags like I was in the first few weeks of the season? I mean, they won 4 straight wins. The 4 straight wins they got were impressive. I don't want to take away from that. And Trevor Lawrence has looked great, and I've always been a believer in Trevor Lawrence. I think his numbers are great. I think he's handling what he's working with great. But the butt of the matter is they're going to struggle to run the football. Their pass rush is 30th in the NFL. Their pass blocking is a little bit below average, but it's gotten a lot better from what he's historically had. But has he played any pass rush near this? I don't think so. I think it's just the perfect time to sell the Jags. So I think Tomlin will have this team ready to play. I think he'll have a good blitz package to send out at Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence's numbers drop significantly when he does get blitzed. And I know Tomlin will love to put something together for that. And I think that they struggle with the blitz because the offensive line is just low IQ. I think it's just missed assignments. So I'm trying to exercise my patience. I couldn't be patient in the Packers game. I already teased this at 2.5 with the Lions. So I did make a move on that. And I want to bet the 3 if it ever gets there. I will be betting the 3. I don't want to. I will be.
Yeah, I like this idea of fading the Jags. I was not impressed with that game again. Oh, look, I'm so impressed with Trevor Lawrence. So,
Right.
so let me rephrase that about not being impressed. He's a very, very talented, tough quarterback that I believe in. And, Etienne and Kirk, and they've got nice pieces, but I just don't think that they're as good as their numbers indicate. Ron Crawford says spreadsheet spot, not spreadsheet play of the day, but spreadsheet spot. Spenny Pennybomb says Etienne's going to go over his rush yards on Sunday. He's betting it. Yeah, Gerald Jones saying the Jags have covered 7 straight on the road. However, I do want the Steelers here.
It's surprising that, looking through PFF's numbers, they got the coverage grade for the Jags is first in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't think they adjusted that much for like DVOA. I'm not looking at DVOA here, but I don't think they've played against anybody outside the Chiefs who really, and Buffalo in that London weird spot after beating the Eagles. I mean, I don't think they're secondary. I think it's overrated.
Yeah, I'm not going to move on this tonight. I want to sit on this. I do imagine that there's going to be a move towards the Jaguars. But yes, I want the Steelers at home. Look, Jacksonville just keeps doing it. They just keep doing it again.
Here you go, Jimmy. Here you go. Steelers as a home dog based on Pinnacle lines. Steelers as a home dog, and the market moves towards the road team. The Steelers are 3-0 ATS the past 2 years and 3-1 on the money line. And any home dog, the teaser numbers are all way above profitable for the Steelers in this spot.
Yeah, I want them. And like Al Cervic's saying, how can the Jags keep doing this? The 2 weeks in the UK, come home for a game and head over to New Orleans. Yeah, they have a few extra days of rest, but they just keep doing it. They keep and
they're on their bye next week.
Yeah.
It's just another weird wrinkle to throw in there.
No, without a doubt. I'm not going to move on this tonight, but I want the Steelers. And I just wanted to talk it all out to ensure that the bias wasn't in play because I cashed so comfortably with them last week. And they've been very good to me this year. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia Eagles 6-1, 3-1 on the road at the Washington Commanders 3-4, 1-2 at home, FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, 76 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. It's uncanny what the Commanders do, or the Washington franchise does, to Philadelphia. They always play them so tough. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We'll go into the spread. Sitting at 6.5 for Philadelphia, juiced to -114. This opened up at -106, and it actually went in the opposite direction. This 6.5 plus 6.5 for Washington. This was -127. There was a 21-cent move towards Washington at Pinnacle, and then it started going down, and now we're at plus money. So, wild market move. So overall, we have 8 cents of movement towards the Philadelphia Eagles. And the total is sitting here at 43.5. This is juiced to the over. It opened up at 44.5. It's now at 43.5. Let's get over to the cash here for this one. We have, move over here. 81% of the tickets and 99% of cash on the under. 81 and 99. Then you have 73% of the tickets on the Eagles and 64% of the cash. So there are some bigger bets on the Commanders. 27% of tickets, 36% of the cash. Ron Crawford looking at the over, and Sky Dragons small bets on Washington and the under. So The Eagles come in off a dominant 31-17 victory at home over the Dolphins. 6 trips to the red zone while the Dolphins only had 1. Hurts played through a knee injury, 23 of 31, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns in the pick. Also ran 11 times for 21 yards and a touchdown, lost a fumble. A.J. Brown caught 10 for 137 and a touchdown. He's just such a monster. He's so big. He's so tough. You can't handle him. No one can handle him. Goddard caught 5 for 77 and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift ran 15 times for 62 yards, caught 3 for 13. Eagles were just 4 of 12 on third down. That's where they're the best in the league. They are first and third down offense. They convert first downs on third down 50.6% of the time. And they went 4 of 6 in the red zone, and that improves their numbers there. They are now ranked 23rd in touchdowns in the red zone, just 45.5% of their trips. It's surprising with the tush push that they wouldn't have better numbers down there. But they held the league's number 1 offense to 12 first downs and 244 total yards. They sacked Tua 4 times, hit him 6 times, and big play Slay had that massive pick. The Eagles' defense is better than what some of these numbers indicate. You know, they're ranked 22nd on third down defense and 25th in red zone defense. Look, I don't see that. I think they're much better than those numbers indicate. The Washington Commanders come in off their 4th loss in 5 games, 14-7 at the Giants. The offense looked awful, especially when it mattered most. 1 for 15 on third down. They're now ranked 24th also in red zone offense. They're not good, and they're not to be trusted. You know, they had 46 yards in the first half. Sam Howell was 22 of 42 for 249 yards in the pick. The offensive line was so bad. I mean, Sam Howell running for his life, 6 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. Chris Rodriguez Jr. had 7 carries for 31 yards. Terry McLaurin had 6 for 90. Logan Thomas caught 4 for 51 yards. They're also, the red zone. They're getting third down on third downs. They're converting first downs just 34.3% of the time. They cannot be trusted. Their defense allowed Tyrod Taylor to put up 279 yards passing. I mean, so and sorry, I gave let me just correct this. I messed up here because I have red zone offense 24. It's their 20. So let me fix this. They're 24th in their third downs. They're 24th third down because their red zone offense is actually pretty good. They get TDs on 61.9% of their opportunities, even though they were just 1 of 3 in the game against the Giants. So to correct that, my bad, I screwed that up. They're 24th in third downs, 34.3% of the time they're converting first downs. They allowed Tyrod Taylor to put 279 yards. Giants were 5 of 16 on third down. You know, and Cody Barton left the game in the first half with an ankle injury. Their left guard, Sadiq Charles, went out with a calf injury late in the third quarter. Both are listed as questionable this week. Take it away for us here, Troy. Eagles, Commies in Landover.
So this Commanders team, like you're saying, they're not to be trusted, especially at home where they're 0-3 ATS, 31st in the NFL, third down conversion. Talked about all the struggles. And I just can't get over the fact that Sam Howell's getting sacked at such a high rate, despite his offensive line grading out way above average on the, in pass blocking grades. It just blows my mind. It just tells me that something's significantly wrong with one of 2 things. And I think it's a little bit of both. Sam Howell or Bieniemy in this offensive play scheme or just design in general. Not to mention Howell sucks against any type of blitz or pressure. We know the Eagles' defensive front will be able to apply pressure. I know that historically the Commanders have played the Eagles great, but I think that at some point here the Eagles are going to be able to put their foot down and cover this spread, no matter how big it may be. And defensively, I thought the Commanders would be better. They're just not. They're just middle of the pack in all the defensive metrics that I like to look at, and just not looking towards the Commanders at home. And the Eagles, I mean, they got me paid, right? I might have a little bit of a bias this week because I was so heavy on the Eagles. And if it weren't for that fluky pick 6, the result would have looked a lot like Buffalo and Miami. I mean, I think that it would have been a complete blowout. I mean, this team has all the elements of a Super Bowl champion. I think that there's one way to play this team for me at this point. I'm not going to be looking to fade the Eagles, but I do have them on a teaser, and I'm teasing them with the Lions.
Yeah.
And two metrics on that because I pulled them, so I might as well give them. So if you bet road favorites in this 6 to 7 point range since 2012 on a teaser, you'd have a 1.6% profit, 1.6% ROI. It's not that great, but if you look in the division, that moves to an 80% hit rate. That's 5% ROI. I think the Eagles win this game pretty handily.
You know, the problem is that the Eagles just looked so good. The Commanders just looked so bad. And the Commanders always play the Eagles tough. It's uncanny. They They always play the Eagles tough, and I'm not going to move on the Eagles here. Honestly, it would be Commanders or no bet. And it's probably a perfect buy low spot for the Commanders. In fact, I'm going to think about moving on them here. It's just, I've just seen it. I feel like I've seen this story too many times.
It's like those some other games like that, like the Browns and the Steelers. The Browns can't win in Pittsburgh. They can't cover in Pittsburgh. It's just
Yeah.
I hear that.
Yeah. And, the Bengals can't beat the Browns. I mean, we see these storylines just play over and over again. So I'm not going to move on it tonight, but I'm interested in the Commanders. I'm interested in a buy low spot for them. Markel said, asking us if we would lean first half Eagles. No, I do. I think this is a buy low spot for the Commanders after the debacle. What do you think? Are you interested in the Eagles early?
I just trust them to get out there with the win. No point spread involved. I just have them on the money line when I teased them at 6.5. So I guess if they tie, I wouldn't cash, but they're going to win this game. I just don't trust them fully to cover the spread. But if I was to take the Eagles on the side, yes, it'd be first half.
All right, let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Houston Texans 3-3, 1-2 on the road. The Carolina Panthers 0-6, 0-2 at home. We're at Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. 78 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour. We get to see the number 1 overall pick versus the number 2 and number 3. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. I don't know how you don't just love the Texans. I mean, it's D'Amico, not in this spot, but in general with what D'Amico's doing over there. I love it. I love him, and I love the success that he's found over here for a franchise starved for some glory. This total opened up at 41.5. It's gone all the way up to 43.5. It's a big move, 2-point move towards the over. Take a look at the side here for this one. We're sitting here with the Texans -3 and -102. So this opened up -3 at -113. So we've had 11 cents of movement towards the Carolina Panthers. Go to the cash flow then for this spot. And we have 56% of the tickets and 87% of the cash on the Texans. For the total, we have 59% of tickets and 88% cash on the over. And we have a big move towards that over. Both teams coming off their bye week. These Texans were last seen in the impressive 2013 victory at home over the Saints. Stroud threw for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns. He threw his first pick, set the NFL record by throwing 191 passes without a pick to start his career. Second overall pick in the draft, has thrown a touchdown pass in 5 straight games. He's thrown 2 in 4 of his past 5. Dalton Schultz has 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. That's 3 straight games with a touchdown for Dalton Schultz. That's the first time he's done that in his career. And then Tank Dell, he's been so good. He missed that game on Sunday, the Saints game, with a concussion. He's going to be back. He's second on the team with 324 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. He's 97 yards after catch. He's special. It's the Texans' running game that has hurt them. We thought Dameon Pierce, this was a perfect spot for him because now people would have to worry more about Stroud's arm, give him some space, but that's not happening. Texans ranked 24th in the NFL. They're averaging just 88.8 yards rushing a game. And Dameon Pierce, 34 yards on 13 carries against the Saints. He's averaging 2.9 yards a carry this season. He had 4.3 yards a carry as a rookie. Will Anderson looks very good. It was a nice trade up. He started every game this year. He has 24 tackles, 2 for losses, a sack, and 8 quarterback hits. And as I said, Tank Dell and Eric Murray will both are expected both to be back here. Panthers, NFL's only winless team, coming off their bye week. They were last seen a 42-21 loss at the Dolphins that saw them go up 14-0 before the Dolphins stormed back with 42 straight points. Dolphins were 5 for 5 in the red zone. Get used to that. Panthers are 30th in the league, allowing touchdowns on 75% of red zone trips. Frank Reich decided last week to give up play calling duties to offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. Panthers are 23rd overall in offense, 22nd in scoring. Bryce Young's starting to look a little better. I thought he looked better against the Dolphins, 23 of 38 for 217 yards and the touchdown. It's this offensive line. It just doesn't protect him. He's running for his life. The Panthers have allowed 19 sacks this year. That's tied for 5th in the league. But the 241 yards lost on sacks is the most in the league. But they finally got some good injury news. Austin Corbett is supposed to make his season debut. He hasn't played since tearing his ACL in the final game of the 2022 season. So that will help them. Adam Thielen's been very, very good, man. Is he been good? He's got at least 11 passes in 3 of their last 4 games. Touchdowns in 4 of their past 5. It's amazing. In the past 5 games, he's caught for 497 yards and 4 touchdowns. But DJ Shark, Jonathan Mingle, Terrace Marshall, somebody's got to step up. And Hayden Hurst is nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. A complete non-factor. So Laviska Shenault has an ankle injury. He's going to be out several weeks. And this linebacking crew, Yetur Gross-Matos, hamstring injury, Frankie Louvu with a hip injury. They hope to get J.C. Horn back, but this injury report for the for the Carolina Panthers is horrific. So, Jeremy Chin, he's out with the quad injury. Von Bell, the strong safety, questionable. Need him badly. Xavier Woods, questionable. This is just it's a mess here. It's a real problem. And we watched Shaq Thompson get hurt in the beginning of the year, their defensive captain. Take it away for us here, Troy. We have the Panthers at home to the Texans.
I don't know. To something about this line opening at 3 smelled a little bit short for some reason. It just feels fishy. I'm not sure what it's telling me at that. I just have to dig into that a little bit more. An 0-6 team versus this Texans team who's going to be very public. Maybe they just opened it at 3 knowing it would get bet up to the 3. I'm not sure. But yeah, as we know, the Panthers are bad, but are they 0-17 bad? People think this is the worst team in the league, but PFF actually has them rated above the Giants despite the 0-6 record. And at home this season, they lost by 1 possession to both the Vikings and the Saints. And both of those spots were winnable games. Bryce Young has not been, like you said, he might have had his best game so far as a Panther, but he's not getting help anywhere else, in my opinion. And he's significantly worse under pressure. But can the Texans apply pressure? Because that's one spot where they really don't excel. 27th in the NFL in terms of pass rush per PFF, only 9 sacks on the season. That's the only team in the NFL in single-digit sacks. And the Texans, would you ever expect laying 3 points on the road with the Texans when this season started? I just couldn't imagine that. CJ Stroud, incredible as hell, but I think the chickens are going to come home to roost eventually. Kept clean. This guy's a stud. PFF got him with a 90 rating, 65% completion. Under pressure now, with another week's of data. He's actually closer than I thought. I might not have stumbled upon him thinking he was better, but he drops down to 37 overall with his second worst in the NFL, next to Gardner Minshew, and a 45% completion rate. And he has the worst bad throw percentage in the NFL. And on the other side, Bryce Young, he's second worst in the NFL. Ultimately, I'm not ready to lay points on the road with the Texans, but am I ready to back the Panthers? I don't think I can, just on coaching edge alone. Like you said, I just have a lot of faith in this coaching staff, and they're outclassed starting at the top, and that's where the coaches put in the work. So I'm off the spot.
Big O says, what is your expectation for Stroud in this game? I think the key is how bad the Panthers are in the red zone defensively. So I'm not saying that Stroud is going to put up 300 yards, but I do think that he's got touchdown passes. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for them. What's your expectation for Stroud in this road start off a bye?
Like I said, I think eventually something. It's just been going too smooth for him, and some of these metrics that you look at, they just suggest that he's going to hit a brick wall soon. What better would the NFL script be than versus Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, the other 0-6?
Yeah, this. The public's going to be all over Houston here. I think it's very dangerous to do that. Very, very.
I was hoping they would get to a 3.5, and I would probably consider backing the Panthers, but yeah, okay, just forget I ever said that. We can move.
And interesting point by Birdie says, remember when the Eagles sucked, Sirianni realized he should not be calling the plays, so he let his young OC, who was extremely talented, call the plays. Now letting his young, talented OC call the plays here. Yeah, I think it's a good move by Frank Reich. And I don't dislike Frank Reich. I don't think Frank Reich is a bad coach. I believe in him. Those are the 1 p.m. games. Let's move on to 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Cleveland Browns 4-2, 1-1 on the road. Seattle Seahawks 4-2, 2-1 at home at Lumen Field. Seattle, Washington 44 Fahrenheit, 75 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this spot. We have the spread sitting at 3 for the Seahawks, -3. This got to 2.5. So this went down to 2.5 there. For how long? Yesterday at 4:10 p.m. it went down to 2.5. It was there for 7.5 hours, and it moved to 3, back to 3. So there has actually, so that 3 wasn't a real 3 that it opened at 2. It was a plus 113. It, got down to even money and then back to plus 105, and then it dropped to 2.5 again. So now the 3's at minus 115. So we've actually had 28 cents of movement on the number 3 towards Seattle. That's a lot. That's a lot of movement, even though it's sitting at that number. Then from a total standpoint here, we're sitting at a 39.5. This opened at 40.5, so it's dropped 1 point down to 39.5. Spenny Penny Bombs is on the Browns +3, and the NFL spreadsheet play of the day from Ron Crawford is Cleveland +3. And Sky Dragon says Cleveland +3, really like it, and money line. And Nuke Worker had Browns as his survivor. Wow, that was a roller coaster for you, Nuke. The Browns come in off a wild 39-38 win at the Colts. They benefited from some questionable flags late in the game. Deshaun Watson left the game after a hard hit. He cleared concussion protocol but didn't return. Grabbed his right shoulder after being hit. Had difficulty lifting his right arm. Did not pass on the sideline. The MRI came in today. I don't know if anybody has the information. I couldn't get it at the time when I was capping this game today. PJ Walker came in and went 15-32 for 178 yards and a pick. Elijah Moore caught 4 for 59. Njoku caught 5 for 54. Jerome Ford ran 11 times for 74 yards and a touchdown. And Kareem Hunt ran 10 times for 31 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jerome Ford has a low-grade high ankle sprain. He's going to miss at least 1 game and could miss 2 games, which means Kareem Hunt will be running the ball. And I don't think he has it. The number 1 ranked defense in the league got gashed for 456 total yards, but Myles Garrett was terrific still, all over the field. In that first half, 2 strip sacks. He jumped over the long snapper to block a 60-yard field goal. The guy's a monster. Finished with 9 tackles. But the Browns let the Colts go 7 of 15 on third down. They are still the best third down defense in the league, allowing first downs on just 23.1% of opponent opportunities. Colts were 3 for 4 in the red zone. And it appears the one weakness of this Browns defense is the red zone. 26th in the league, allowing touchdowns on 66.7% of red zone drives. Ward had an interception. Hopkins 4-4 on field goals. 2 54-yarders and a 58-yarder. He's rolling. So he owns the NFL record of consecutive games with at least 1 50-yarder. That's 5 straight. Defensive end Alex Wright is in concussion protocol. Jerome Ford, as I said, out. Seahawks coming off a 2010 victory at home over the Cardinals. Geno Smith, 18-24 for 219 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He did lose a fumble. DK Metcalf missed the first game of his career. So it's a rib injury week 2, and now it's a hip injury. Jackson Smith-Njigba was great. 4 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown. There was Jake Bobo catching 4 passes for 61 yards and a touchdown. Charbonnet missed the game. There's the UCLA connection right there with Bobo and Charbonnet. In his absence, Kenneth Walker ran 26 times for 105 yards. I know Spenny, a lot of you guys were on Kenneth Walker props, knowing that Charbonnet was out. Seattle was 7 of 13 on third down, but just 1 of 3 in the red zone. Seahawks are 21st in the league, scoring touchdown on 50% of their red zone drives, but the defense was so good. 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, but Uchenna Nwosu is gone. Done. Outside linebacker, strained pec, requires surgery, done for the year. So Darrell Taylor is the next man up. These stats don't make any sense to me, man. Somehow the Seahawks are allowing touchdowns on 90% of red zone drives. So they're last in the league there. And then they're 30th on third downs. They're allowing opponents to convert 48.6% of opportunities. The Cardinals were 5 of 15 on third down and 0-1 in the red zone. So Seattle without starting center Evan Brown with the hip injury, starting right guard Phil Haynes with a calf injury. So it's Oluwatimi and Anthony Bradford filling in. I can't wait to hear your breakdown of this one. Take it away for us here, Troy. Browns, Seahawks.
the Seahawks are one of those teams in the beginning of the season I talked about that I wanted to fade. The Giants, the Vikings, and the Seahawks top my fade list this season. I haven't faded them enough, I feel like. And luckily, I haven't faded the Seahawks that much this season because they've been playing pretty damn well. But they've faced the worst strength of schedule in the NFL, and right now it's not even close. The next closest is the Eagles, the Dolphins. God damn it. I always get those two mixed up. But this strength of schedule is just soft. They beat the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Giants, and the Rams. Sure, they beat the Lions, but it was a great spot for them. And the Browns are a completely different style of team, and styles make fights. This is definitely a different style than they've seen so far. I don't think they've played one team with a defense that ranks in the top 10. People see this 4-2 record, and I think they think they're better than they actually are. And I think that Geno Smith is the perfect hallucinogen to make you think that this team is better than they actually are. Although Geno Smith, surprisingly, is probably the best deep ball passer in the NFL per the metrics. But so that's pretty good on his end. Outside of that, I still think he's a little bit of a fraud. How is this team going to perform when they're running a good defenses? I just can't imagine that Geno is going to perform that well. The Bengals was their best opponent from a defensive side of things, and Geno threw 2 picks. I know they marched into the red zone multiple times, but he couldn't get the job done. We know we know who the Browns are. We're not going to be expecting much on offense, but we should expect a lot from this defense. And like I said, and I'm not saying I mind it or maybe you shouldn't be laying points with the Browns with this type of offense and defensive dichotomy, but I still think their defense is elite, probably the best defense I've ever seen. Despite all that happened last week and the Colts hanging up 40 points, I think that was definitely misleading. If you look at the 3 plays that led to 3 touchdowns, that was over half their yards. But I think that I'm not thinking. I already backed the Browns +3, and I'm looking for more ways to do so.
Troy got the Browns at +3, and you got that at -110, +3, -110 for Troy.
Seahawks is home favorites over the past 2 seasons. Well, this is before I haven't marked down this past game. The road team is 6-2 ATS, so now it's 6-3 ATS, and undefeated ATS on a teaser.
Yeah, that does not surprise. We would be talking about the last 5 years. These were stats from the beginning of the year, but they were 17-23 against the spread at home, not including the year where there was no fans in the stands. So, it's wild. We have people on both sides in the chat. They're confident here, and this one's just going to take more time for me. But we have Troy on the Browns. Ron Crawford spreadsheet play of the day on the Browns. Nuclear saying bad spot for the Browns traveling across the country after 2 emotional wins. All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Kansas City Chiefs 6-1, 3-0 on the road at the Denver Broncos, 2-5, 1-3 at home, Mile High in Denver, Colorado, and it's cold. It's our first cold game of the year. 34 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Chiefs, Broncos. We're sitting here at 8, sitting with a +8. This opened up at +8.5, so we've had a half-point move towards the Broncos. Let's get into the total here for this one. So we have a half-price move towards the Broncos, and this is sitting at 46.5. This total's gone up a half point. I got off to that bad start on Sunday, and I was just beating myself up because my leans on our NFL pub up. I started with them like these are the 2 spots that I'm close to moving on. There was the Ravens and the Lions. I didn't move on either. I moved on the Raiders under, which got screwed late, and then I added the Chiefs under, and I got very fortunate that cashed the under 48.5. But not being on the Broncos last week bothered me immensely. Chiefs come in off a 31-17 victory at home. Did we go over the cash flow here? I don't think we did. Let's do that here for this Broncos spot. We have 76% of the tickets and 86% of the cash on the over. We've seen it go up a half point. And we have 31% of the tickets and 70% of cash on the Broncos. Half point move here. Ron Crawford says under again, just like at Arrowhead. Chiefs coming off that 31-17 victory at home over the Chargers. They're just dominating this division. They've won it 7 straight years. They just dominated the Chargers. They put up 483 yards of offense. Mahomes 32 of 42 for 424 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. I mean, it's just a monster. He ran 4 times for 29 yards. Kelsey caught 12 for 179 and a touchdown. Mahomes had 321 passing yards at the half. Kelsey had 143 yards receiving at the half. Second week in a row, he's had over 100 at the half. Marquez Valdes-Scantling caught 3 for 84, but the running game wasn't very good. It didn't have to be, but it wasn't. Pacheco, 13 carries for 32 yards, caught 4 for 20 and a touchdown. But they were 6 for 11 on third down. They're third in the league converting third downs at 48.1%. They went 3 of 4 in the red zone. They're actually only 18th in the red zone scoring. Touchdowns, 54.2% of their drives. But the defense was excellent again. I mean, if this defense, if L'Jarius needs just a complete lockdown corner, I mean, who can beat this team? I mean, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 teams that can beat this team. They held the Chargers to 6 of 14 on third down. They're 10th in the league, allowing opponents to convert just 36% of third downs. They had 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Held the Chargers to 1 and 2 in the red zone. That's where they are. They're 11th in the league, allowing touchdowns 50% of the time. Brian Cook, Snead had picks. The number 2 scoring defense. And they got Omenahu back for a 6-game suspension for violating the personal conduct policy. So he had a sack in the first half, and then he tipped the pass that Snead picked off. Now, Nick Bolton dislocated his wrist. So he'll be out probably until the end of the regular season. Broncos coming off a big 19-17 win at home over the Packers. Peyton gets his first win at home in 4 tries. Snaps the Broncos streak of losing 10 straight games in which they had the lead at halftime. That's nuts. Russell Wilson, 20-29, 194 yards, touchdown. Cortland Sutton caught 6 for 76 and a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy caught 5 for 64. Javonte Williams ran 15 times for 82 yards, caught 3 for 14. I mean, the Packers are just so bad against the run. But they were just 1 of 4 in the red zone, which has actually been an area where they've been good. They're 11th in red zone, scoring 57.9% of opportunities. The defense has been so much better in recent weeks. I mean, they still rank last in yards and points allowed, but they're better than those numbers indicate. They're 19th in red zone defense, 16th in third down defense. That's a lot better than last and last. They did not get much pressure on the quarterback, though. 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and PJ Locke had a pick. He came in for Kareem Jackson, who was ejected for the illegal hit and has subsequently been suspended for 4 games for the multiple illegal hits. Look, I'm interested in the Broncos. I think it's just every week I'm interested in them. Take it away for us here, Troy. Chiefs, Broncos.
Yep, I backed the Broncos last time in Arrowhead, and I missed by the hooker. But I'm back on the Broncos +8 in this spot. And I've lost money fading this Chiefs team. I'll say it to you right now. They've covered 5 out of the last 6, which really wasn't their MO in the past years. And I feel like at some point that's got to come back a little bit, at least a little bit. Nothing go up straight forever, right? But I just feel like this is just the range at home where home teams cover. And if you look at Pinnacle, when lines close at 7.5 to 8, past few years, it's been a very profitable home dog. And I still am struggling to think that this Chiefs team is exactly who they've been in the past. Some of these metrics I see, Mahomes' lowest ADOT of his career, lowest big-time throw rate of his career, highest turnover-worthy play rate of his career. Although it be very small, it's still much elevated over where it has been historically. And this is just one of the worst offensive lines I think the Kansas City Chiefs had in quite some time. And people are super high on this Chiefs defense, but I think they're more of a middle of the pack than an elite caliber type of defense. And the Chiefs had the Dolphins on deck, which I think they could be looking forward to some extent. Whereas the Broncos, I mean, they came off their second win of the season, and I definitely not in convincing fashion, but has the Broncos defense got better? I think the numbers suggest that the Broncos defense has gotten progressively better each week, but they still can't stop the run. Luckily, the Chiefs can't run the ball. I think that 8 points is a reasonable spread to take, and I think we have a little bit of an edge with backing the Broncos in this spot. So I have the +8.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that Dolphins-Chiefs game is in Frankfurt. So the Chiefs are about to head over to Germany. Yeah, I like it too, man. I kind of like it too. Cold weather, Denver. The Chiefs defense is so good. Makes me also interested in this total, but I mean, clear move towards the over is uncomforting. I'm interested in that under. I'm not going to get in the way of this market move at this point here. but 46 to 46.5. Ron Crawford likes KC first half, Broncos full game. Sky Dragon says the thing is Denver, even if they could stop the run, would let KC run the ball a million times anyway. Yeah, I'm interested. And yeah, Mac Beavers, that's the Germany game. I'm interested in the Broncos +8 -112 that you are on. Very, very interested. Makes sense here. All right, let's move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Next up, Baltimore Ravens 5-2, 3-1 on the road. Arizona Cardinals 1-6, 1-2 at home at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Let's get right into the line history here on this one. We have the Diamondbacks sitting at +8.5. Diamondbacks, geez, sorry, that's in my head. Cardinals, sorry, big ball games on right now. Cardinals opening up +8.5. That moved to +10, and it's back to +8.5. Kyler Murray expected to start here for the Arizona Cardinals. Let's get into the total here for this one. The total sitting at 44, -111 to the under. It opened up at 45, so we have a 1-point move towards the under. Let's get into the cash flow for Ravens Cardinals. And we have 70% of the tickets on the Ravens, but just 47% of the cash. So big bets have come in on the Cardinals. What the hell is Kyler going to do in this game? And are we sure he's going to be in? I think we are. 51% of the tickets and 88% cash on the under here. Ravens coming off a dominant 38-6 victory at home over the Lions. And so that means that I don't want them here under any circumstances. But they put up 508 yards of offense. Lamar Jackson was 21-27 for 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, ran 9 times for 36 yards, touchdown, almost perfect passer rating. Almost 155.8. He's completed 70% of his passes in every game but one this year. Mark Andrews caught 4 for 63 and 2 touchdowns. Nice to see Mark show out. He started the year hurt. Zay Flowers caught 4 for 75, and Gus ran 14 times for 64 and also caught a pass for 80 yards. They were 5 for 6 in the red zone, so they're now 9th in the league, scoring touchdowns, 58.3% of red zone opportunities. The defense was excellent. They sacked Goff 5 times, hit him 8 times. Kyle Van Noy had 2 of the 5 sacks. They allowed Lions just 1 trip in the red zone. That was unsuccessful. They have allowed 7 touchdowns this season. Second in the league, allowing touchdowns on just 25% of red zone opportunities. Arizona Cardinals coming off a 2010 loss at Seattle. Kyler Murray will return. Dobbs in his final spot, 19 of 33 for 146 yards. He also ran 7 for 43, but he was unable to do anything downfield. His longest completion was 21 yards, and that was on the final possession. Marquise Brown led receivers with 3 for 49. Demercado ran 13 times for 58 yards. They missed Connor badly, still on IR. They only made 1 entry into the red zone. They're 0 for 1 there. We talked when Connor went down that they would just stop scoring, and I don't know why I wasn't on the under last week because they're not going to be able to deliver in the red zone. But now it's changed with Kyler back, and the volatility kind of skyrockets. They're 13th on third down, converting 40.8% of them. The defense also couldn't get enough pressure on Geno Smith. They sacked him twice, hit him 3 times. They're 27th, allowing opponents to convert 45.1% of third downs. And they're 17th in the red zone, allowing touchdowns on 53.3% of drives. Take it away for us here, Troy. We have a Ravens-Cardinals spot at State Farm.
It just feels like a number where you got to take the Cardinals, a number in a spot. Ravens coming off that massive win against the most public team in the NFL. And we know what happens. Public jump ship. Now they're probably going to be on the Ravens. And I've been so off the Ravens, so completely dead wrong on the Ravens because they do look every bit of what Ravens backers hope they would be. So I've definitely been wrong. And that kind of is why I'm keeping off this game in general. And we don't know the status of Kyler Murray. I just thought it was pretty funny. I've seen a stat today. Teams that were 7-point dogs or more with a +3 in the turnover margin, were 165-5 ATS. Well, now they got a number 6 in the Cardinals because that's what happened last week against the Seahawks. I think the Cardinals, if anything, what we've seen so far tells us at least they're being coached well. The coaching staff is outperforming what we expected. So I'm off this game. I can't fade the Ravens again. I didn't fade them last week against the Lions. I knew I should have been backing the Ravens at the 3. But I didn't have the balls to do it. It was the spot, and I missed it.
Oh, it was so clear, the spot, too, and I just left as a lean all week. Yeah, I think this is a perfect spot to back the Cardinals. Even if worst-case scenario, Kyler Murray wasn't under center. I don't even think Kyler Murray's going to play that well, but The Ravens off dominant home victory now get out on the road against the Cardinals team. It's a very similar spot to the Broncos here at home. I kind of like them both. I kind of want to move on both the Cardinals and the Broncos. And I may move on the Cardinals tonight. Joe saying looks like a classic Ravens play down to competition spot, but says no chance he'll bet the Cards. Al Silver says Ravens are growing to this offense, but they aren't all the way there. Lamar said they have lots of work to do after burying the Lions. He's in kill mode. Spenny's going to be on the over for Marquise Brown receptions and receiving yards. And Ron Crawford says again, home dog +7, automatic Arizona. And, Birdie saying Ravens have not performed well in this spot. This could be a survivor and teaser killer. All right. I think the Cardinals are going to end up on my board here. And Burgundy Bets giving a shout out to Troy Torrence, the new father. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Cincinnati Bengals 3-3, 1-2 on the road at San Francisco 49ers 5-2, 3-0 home. Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 62 Fahrenheit, sunny, 7 miles per hour. I cannot wait for this football game. This is the most interesting game of the week here for me. The Niners open up at -6. They're now -5.5. 5.5 is a little juiced now, -111, because this 5.5 was even money at 2:00 today. And the total here is over here. The total here is sitting at 45. This opened up at 46. It's dropped a point to 45. And I did not expect the 49ers to bounce back against the Vikings. I was so confident in that Viking spot. And honestly, I don't think the 49ers should be this big of a favorite here, knowing that Debo's not going to be there. And Bengals coming off their bye week. Last seen a 17-13 home win. Did I do the cash? I want to know the cash. 88% of the tickets and 63% of the cash on the under. So the over is 12 and 37. It's interesting. And for the spread, 51% of the tickets and 62% of cash on the 49ers. Skydragon liking the over. Ron Crawford liking the over. And Birdie on the other side. Bengals +5.5 in the under. So Bengals coming off their bye week. They were last seen a 17-13 home win over the Seahawks. So Burrow strained the calf muscle on July 27th. Missed training camp. They aggravated it in week 2. But last week he looked, normal. But there's a lot of problems here. The offensive line has been bad. They're not getting production from either the pass or the run games. They're, close to the worst in the league in all these different offensive categories. Total yards per game, rush yards per game, passing yards per game. They are horrible on third down. 33%. They're converting. So that's what they did against Seattle. They went 3 for 11, which is worse than that, 27.3%. T. Higgins is dealing with a rib injury or something. He looks terrible. He's got to step up. And Joe Mixon's done. Look what he did against the Seahawks. He ran 12 times for 38 yards. His longest gain was 5 yards. He's averaging 3.8 yards per carry this season. And then Irv Smith Jr. was supposed to replace Hayden Hurst, and he was being slowed by injuries, but he's doing squat-ass nothing. And Orlando Brown hopefully will be back. He hurt his groin in the fourth quarter against the Seahawks. In saying all that negativity, I still think that the Bengals can keep this game close, and I want to move on the Bengals. 49ers are on a short week, coming off that 22-17 loss at Minnesota, 2-game losing streak for just the second time in 2 years. So no Debo and no Trent Williams against that weak Vikings defense. And Brock Purdy, 21 to 30, 272 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. And Debo is such a difference maker. It was the first time all year the Niners didn't score on their opening drive. CMC played despite the oblique injury. He ran 15 times for 45 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 passes for 51 yards. He's the only player in the league that's scored a touchdown in every game this year. Streak of 16 straight games. One short of Lenny Moore's all-time record in 1963-64. It's wild. George Kittle caught 5 for 78. Ayuk caught 5 for 57. That was a really ugly 2 road games. But their offense still second in the league, averaging 30.7 points per game. The Red Zone's offense still ranked 4th in the league, 69.2%. But how much do these numbers drop without Debo and Trent Williams? That's the big question. They're still lead the league, allowing 14.5 points per game, but they allowed a Vikings team missing their star receiver with no running game to put up 452 yards. 0 sacks. They did get 6 hits. Held the Vikings to 0 for 2 in the red zone, but they're 24th in the league, allowing touchdowns on 63.6% of opponents' opportunities. And Travarius Ward, that was a 50-50 ball that you gotta get, and Addison took it to the house. I want the Bengals here. Take it away, Troy. Bengals, Niners.
49ers are going through a rough stretch, but I'm not ready to write them off at this point. I mean, you will look at that game yesterday. There's some things that happened that definitely didn't favor them. I'm not saying they should have won or covered that game by any means. CMC fumbled in the red zone on their first possession. They missed a field goal to put salt in the wound. And late in the game, Brock Purdy made some mistakes, some uncharacteristic mistakes. But I actually thought they were mistakes I could live with. Throwing the ball to a spot opposed to waiting for guys to break out of the routes. Things that he's done very well. He just made some mistakes. So I got to cut the kid some slack after watching that game last night. Some people have bad games. Some people make bad plays and bad moments that are highlighted to a different level because of when they happened. The defense is where I have some concerns after watching what happened with the Vikings. Now, we already talked about Kirk Cousins. This man played out of his mind. There was one play. The pressure was in his face in a blink of an eye on a blitz. On a third down, this man got to his last read, his last progression. Couldn't believe he got the ball out in time. I mean, just every element of this game, Kirk Cousins dominated. So it's hard to say that the 49ers defenses, that I have concerns about them. But it was pretty clear. Fred Warner struggled to cover anything over the short middle of the field, especially anything crossing his face. And they got beat up a little bit. Greenlaw got beat up. Freddie got beat up a little bit. And I think that's a little bit cause for concern. But just like I'm not ready to sell the Niners at this point, I don't know if I'm ready to back the Bengals because we've been talking about these numbers for a long time now, and they really haven't changed. I mean, he did look a little bit more mobile in the pocket. He did drive the ball a little bit farther downfield than he was early in the season. But still, the strength of schedule that they've played isn't very impressive. The Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Rams is their 3 wins. And Joe Burrow just having the worst career or a career worst year, lowest ADOT of his career, lowest big-time throw percentage of his career, lowest completion percentage of his career. And PFF continues to grade him below average. And defensively, it's not like this Bengals team is like they have been in years past where they have been elite. They are good in the red zone, but they're bad on third down, and they're allowing 5 yards per carry. I just can't get behind the Bengals or the 49ers at this point. It'll be a hell of a game to watch. I can't move on this game. But it did look like I seen that total tick down a little bit, and it's starting to draw my interest because it went down it's in that sweet spot that I like, that I've been betting. So I will consider the total in this game under the total.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to be on the Bengals here, and I'm not writing off the 49ers at all. I just think that it's a great opportunity to fade them. If they're 5-3 now, we can possibly look at them in the future market where we couldn't before, when they were 5-0. And I like the Bengals here. I mean, if I was sitting here tonight, and I move on the Bengals, Cardinals, and Broncos, I don't have any concern about that at all. And Rant saying that 45 is probably too high. Birdie saying the situational opportunity on a desperate team that's been to a Super Bowl and AFC game working after a down start. Beautiful spot for the desperate Bengals. And you have
man. This is shaping up like the spots I bet week 1 with the Buccaneers and the Lions. Lions that open at 6 to between 6 and 7 and close below 6.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just looking at these pinnacle lines right now that close at 5 after a market move to the away team. They're saying the Bengals are in a 3-1 ATS and a 3-1 money line spot. The 5.5 is strong. Getting below that 6 is a strong move on Pinnacle. And on FanDuel. If I open this up to the FanDuel as well, we have a bigger sample of the same shit. Road team wins outright in this spot.
I like it. I'm going to be on the Bengals. I'm going to bet them tonight. And the under is.
I might be with you, and I think I will be playing a little money line round robin this week, and I will have the Bengals in it.
And I kind of like the under as well. I mean, look at the way the Bengals are winning games, and
yeah.
But I don't know about that at this point. I know that the Bengals, I'm going to move on tonight. Let's move on. Next up for us is the Sunday Nighter. We'll be right here for the Sunday night live stream. Chicago Bears at Los Angeles Chargers, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Bears 2-5, 1-2 on the road. Chargers 2-4, 1-2 at home. And for a lot of people's survivor pools, it comes down to whether you want the Ravens or the Chargers. And I'm live in both mine, and I'm very close to making decisions around that. And basically, I want I think the Chargers are in a better spot slightly, even though we have Bajent mania going on right now. Chargers opened as 10-point favorites, but it wasn't a real 10. It was plus 115 at the minus 10 at Pinnacle. So now they're minus 8 at minus 112. Let's get over to the total here for this one, our Sunday Nighter, sitting at 46. It opened at 44. So we know primetime unders have been hitting nonstop, and this has gone up 2 points. Let's go over to the cash flow then for this spot. Cash flow wise and Bears, Chargers, we have 43% of the tickets and 59% of the cash on the Chargers. No, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. Although this is really just a survivor look for me at this point. Nothing more. And we haven't had that monster upset in the survivor pools yet this year, but there's been many ones throughout. So 43%, 59% of cash on the Chargers, and then 54% of tickets, 51% cash on the over, and it's gone up 2 points. Sky Dragon says, can Herbert really screw this up? I don't normally lay more than a touchdown, but I did hear Chargers minus 8.5 and adding some to teasers later. Mac Beaver says, Mac versus old team. Justin Fields is classified as doubtful, so I don't expect him to be there. I think we're going to see Tyson Bagent once more. And he was 21-29 for 162 yards and a touchdown, 97.2 passer rating in his first NFL start. Nice 30-12 victory over the Raiders. He's the first Bears quarterback to win his debut start since the great Craig Krenzel, 2004. Love seeing an undrafted kid out of Div 2 Shepherd University roll. Bears won for the second time in 3 games after dropping 14 in a row. DJ Moore caught 8 for 54. Deonta Foreman ran 16 times for 89 and 2 touchdowns. Caught 3 passes as well. I wrote too many yards there. It must be 17, I'm guessing. The Bears put up 173 yards on the ground, 8 for 13 on third down, 3 of 3 in the red zone. But the Bears defense didn't get much pressure. They didn't have to. Brian Hoyer is just terrible. Jalen Johnson had 2 picks, returning 1 to the house. Jermaine Edmonds also had a pick. Chargers coming off a 31-17 loss to the Chiefs. They were outgained 483 to 358. The Chiefs had 25 first downs, while the Chargers only had 16. Herbert doesn't look very good. 17 to 30, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Back-to-back games where he's not looked good, and the offensive line can't protect him. Sacked 5 times, hit 8. They need Corey Linsley back badly, and he's eligible to return. And I hope that he's back. That would make it so much easier to back these guys. Joshua Palmer caught 5 for 133. Joshua Kelly ran 7 for 75 and a touchdown. Austin Eckler returned. He didn't look good. Ran 14 times for 45 yards. Caught a pass for a yard. They couldn't get pressure on Mahomes. They sacked him once, hit him 4 times. The Chiefs were 6 for 11 on third down. And the Chargers are very good on third down defensively. They're 4th in the league, allowing just 33.3% of third downs to convert. Their red zone defense is tied for 11th with the Chiefs, tied for 11th, allowing touchdowns on 50% of opportunities. And they lost Everett to a quad injury. He's listed as questionable. Take it away for us here, Troy. Bears, Chargers.
So this is a number I feel like I want to look towards the Bears, but the spot I want to look towards the Chargers. And it's funny. Chicago fans are so excited about Bagent. Anytime you get any type of good quarterback play in Chicago, the Bears fans just shove all in. It's like shoving all in pre-flop, or on the flop with a 5-high flush draw. I mean, even if you hit, you still might not win the pot. On the defensive side for the Chicago Bears, that's actually where I think they have made some improvement. The secondary is finally playing better in coverage. The front 7 has been great against the run. First in the NFL, only allowing 3.5 yards per carry. But the issue remains, they just can't pressure the quarterback. And if you can't pressure Justin Herbert in the pocket, it's going to be a long night for the Bears and the secondary alone. It's just sad to watch this Chargers team. We've been pretty heavily invested in this Chargers team, and they always let us down. They've been a factory of sadness is what I've heard in the Pub Sports Radio community, and I love that. And it's exactly what the Chargers are, a factory of sadness that I'm experiencing firsthand. something has to change. They have to fire the coach, overhaul the roster. They have to do something. But to me, it's the coaching. I mean, you look at the last 3 possessions of the game the Chargers played last week against the Chiefs. Exhibit A, down 7 late in the third quarter. They run the ball 3 consecutive times and punt short of midfield, but still in a down and distance where they probably go for that against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but they just decide not to. Especially that's his MO. It's like he was so ass and made so many wrong decisions. Now he's trying to be more conservative. It just even looks worse. And the next possession, they got the ball. They had 3 consecutive passes, no yards, and a punt. I mean, it's just sad to watch this team. I think they can't get out of their own way. And defensively, it's just gross. Every snap looks like a fire drill. You're watching guys run around like chickens with their head cut off. Guys are throwing guys into the right spot. It's like right before the snap, they're still running around the field trying to get set up. It's pretty embarrassing to see that, and that just is a perfect sign of bad coaching. I lost too much money with both these teams. I knew the Bears were the right side last week. I didn't bet it, and I regret that. I'm not going to compound that and bet this game probably. I don't have a side that I like.
You know, at this point, it's our Sunday night game. So, and I guess it'll just be my survivor pick. It will be. I've decided that. So I'm going to take the Chargers in the survivor pool for both of them here. But at this point, I see the total going up to 46. I wonder what we're going to do. You know, I guess it's just same game parlay type of deal again. But that's Bears Chargers. Not a lot of interest here from us, but
it's one of those spots where like I want to take the Chargers on a teaser to some extent, but it's like I don't think I would bet that. I wouldn't bet the 8.5, and if I wouldn't bet the 8.5, it's probably not. I don't know if I should say that, but I just don't. I don't love it. I don't love it.
Sadly, no action for us here other than survivor for Bears Chargers. Let's move on to the Monday nighter. Monday night live stream right here on Pub Sports Radio. Las Vegas Raiders 3-4, 1-3 on the road at the Detroit Lions 5-2, 2-1 at home. We're at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Let's get into the spread here for this one. Sitting here with Detroit as 8.5 point favorites. Opened up at 7.5, now 8.5. It's a big number. Total sitting at 45 over at Pinnacle. That's where it opened. You see 45.5 on the board. And this 45 isn't real because it's minus 120 to the over. So it's not a real 45. Let's get into the cash flow for our Monday nighter. 98% of the tickets and 98% of the cash on the Detroit Lions. 79% of the tickets and 81% cash on the under. NLMB in the chat says Lions by 50. Raiders come in off a horrific 30-12 loss at Chicago. Brian Hoyer was awful. 17-32 for 129 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, posted 37.1 passer rating. Aiden O'Connell was much better, but 10-13 for 75 yards, touchdown and a pick, but it's too little, too late. Devontae Adams caught 7 for 57. Jacoby Myers caught 7 for 50 and a touchdown. They expect Jimmy G to be back this week, so that's the expectation. Jacobs ran 11 times for 35 yards, caught 1 pass for 6 yards. He looked bad. He's looked bad all year. They were 2 of 9 for third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. They're ranked 25th in the league in red zone and 22nd in the league third down. This defense did squat ass nothing, absolutely nothing. Caught no pressure whatsoever. Finished with 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. It was ugly. Lions coming off being lit up and smoked 38-6 by the Ravens. Baltimore had scored touchdowns 4 times before Detroit got a first down. Jared Goff, 33 of 53 for 284 yards. But he only got the Lions into the red zone once. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 13 for 102. Jameer Gibbs replaced Montgomery, ran 11 times for 68. Touchdown, caught 9 for 58. The Lions had won 4 straight, all by at least 14 points, and then get torched. And they'd scored at least 20 points in 15 straight games. Their defense was atrocious. I mean, they let the Ravens put up 503 total yards, go 5 of 6 in the red zone. Lions are 21st in the league, allowing touchdowns on 57.9% of opponents' red zone drives. But their 4th and third down percentage, they're only allowing firsts on 33.3% of third downs. So they're good there. But they got no pressure. It was the least amount of pressure I've ever seen the Lions create, in the Campbell era. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. The Ravens had 8 pass plays of at least 20 yards. It was just appalling, absolutely appalling how bad both of these teams played last week. Take it away for us here, Troy, the Monday nighter Raiders-Lions.
You know, the run-pass option for Baltimore keeps that defense at bay. I mean, those defensive ends get too far up the field, they will get crushed Lamar Jackson is punishing people in the run pass option, and it's pretty clear. So I kind of want to cut the Lions a little bit of slack because we've seen the same thing when the Ravens played the Browns. Now the Browns are taking a little bit more risk probably, but I take that back because after the Lions got down 28-0 in a matter of minutes, they're probably getting ready to, unloading at that point as well. I want to back off as much as possible. I love the way his metrics look. He has the highest PFF rating in passes of 10 plus yards. So many metrics points how elite this guy's been, and his success rate drops considerably against pressure, but the Raiders are bottom of the league when it comes to pressure rate on the quarterback, and that's even with Max Crosby. I mean, they only have 3 players on this Raiders defense that grade out above average, and only one of them is elite in Crosby. The other 2 are just slightly, barely above average. Lions are 4-0 straight up in ATS off a loss since last November, winning by margin, 14 points, 14, 31, 26, and 6. The 6 was versus a dog. Any way you slice it, I just think the Lions don't lose this game. The database and the trends say this is a very lucrative teaser leg as well. Home favorites in this range, 35-6, 85% ATS since 2018. Home favorites in this range off a loss, 15-2, 88% since 2018. Also, home teams that closed -8 or -8.5 at Pinnacle last year, 7-1 ATS. I think this is the final leg to all my teasers. I have 4 teasers. They all finish with the Lions, and that will be the Monday Night Football game. So I might have an opportunity to hedge a little bit, but we'll see how the week progresses.
You have the Lions -2 with the Eagles -0.5. Lions -2 with the Bills -2.5. The Lions -2 with the Steelers +8.5. And the Lions -2 with the Titans +8.5. So do you feel like the Lions defense will be angry and much better? Because I do. And if that's the case, they are a beaten up squad, but if that's the case, I see this market moving towards the over, so there's no point to bet it now. But do you have interest in the under on the Monday Nighter?
I always have interest in the Monday Nighter. And when it comes to the total and going under the total, I definitely have interest. I think the Lions defense is not elite. I think they are a middle of the pack defense. Maybe I'd say above average, maybe not elite, maybe in between average and elite. Somewhere in between there is where the Lions are falling until they get fully healthy, right? Yeah, I'm definitely interested in under.
I'm going to see how high it goes at this point. But Troy bullish on the Detroit Lions. And the Sunday night and the Monday night game this week are not appealing spots for me at all. And when we started this card, I had a ton of action, and then it started dwindling. Let's review all action here. Yes, we got through 16 games in 2 hours and 17 minutes. Not too bad. Not too bad. Let's take a look at the action here. We will start with Troy. Troy's got the Cowboys Rams under 45, and he bet it again at 45.5. He's got the Packers +1.5, the Browns +3, the Broncos +8, and those 4 teasers that I just spoke of. For me, I'm going to be on the over in Tampa Bay Buffalo, and I'm going to be on the Bucs team total over 16.5. That's it for that spot. Then I'm going to take a very long look at the under in Rams Cowboys that Troy has doubled up on. I'm not going to move on the Packers tonight, but I have some interest in them. And I have some interest in the Titans, but I'm not moving on them tonight. Saints Colts, we stayed away. And the under 47 in Patriots Dolphins is another spot that I do find appealing, with Belichick putting together a game plan for the Tyreek Hill and Waddle situation. But I'm not moving on that tonight either. Jets Giants, we stayed off. Troy had a lean towards the Jets. The Steelers, the Commanders. So it would be the Steelers, Commanders. Troy, of course, is on the Browns, and same with Ron Crawford's spreadsheet's play of the day. But Steelers, Commanders, Broncos, Cardinals, and Bengals. 5 dogs right there that I find quite appealing. And I think I move on all 5 of them tonight. If there's one that would slip out of my grasp, it would be the Commanders. But I don't know why I would let that happen. So that's my plan over the next 2 hours to sit with these spots. But those are the 5 dogs that I expect to be on. And I'm a little I can't let this affect me, but I went 0-2 on the Thursday nighter, still squeaked out a 7-6 week, but putting 2 bets on that Thursday nighter is treacherous and dangerous.
What were the 5 dogs you had again?
The 5 dogs are, so let me move over here. Sorry, my pages of notes are so ridiculously long. So it would be over here again. Here we go. The Titans are on a possible, but it's the Steelers, Commanders. So Steelers, Commanders,
Bengals,
Broncos, Bengals, and Cardinals. And then the Titans I'm even looking at as a dog to stick around a little more here. All right. That is our show for this evening. Thank you guys so much for being in the chat. We have nothing without you. I know there's so many big games on right now with NBA starting tonight and Game 7 of the NLCS. So thank you for making time for us. Mac, Beavers, Sky Dragon, Al Cervic, Ronnie Crawford, Tacky JP, Birdie, Londo, Spenny Penny Bombs, Ian Shaber, Terry Walker, Ron Crawford, all you guys, thank you. You stuck around here for the entirety of the show in a minute. Ton to us. NLMB, Markel, thank you guys. Nate Cerna, Rants, thank you guys so much. Huge week, as always, as every week in NFL is. And we're both coming off winning weeks. Yours was much bigger than mine. And we're both.
Oh, no, because you hit that SGP, Jimmy.
Oh, 2 of them. Yeah, no, I did. But
you hit last night too?
Oh, yeah, man.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Dog.
Yeah, dude.
Dog.
It's crazy. Big up 1.5 over those 2 games.
You got to be going back to the well. You got to be going back after that.
Silly situation there. NFL a low bag record here. I'm 51-45, 53.1% plus 1.13 units. You know, any day in the black is a good day, and that's fine. I want more. Troy, you're sitting at plus 3.88 units with a plus 3.32% ROI, average line plus 129. I love that we are succeeding in different methods, but we need to take it up. Take it up another notch. Climb the ladder a little bit. Troy, my man, excellent work. Any last words for the Cappers here supporting the show?
Yeah, just want to touch on some of these plays. I'm waiting for this line. Packers plus 2.5, plus 3. I'll be betting them both if I get them. Steelers plus 3. I'll definitely be betting that if I get that. I'll likely be on the Bengals plus 5.5 and on the money line. That remains to be seen. And I'm looking towards this Bengals Niners under as well. Yeah. But other than that, hey, the chat is awesome. Al Cervic, Birdie. I mean, there's Spenny Penny. There's so many dogs in the chat as well. I can't even touch on everyone. It's just, reading those comments always matters. And appreciate to be here. It's time to stack the winning weeks, though, and that's what we're about to do.
That's what we're about to do. Thank you to Jose for doing all the graphics and now cutting up all these videos. Jose, you are the man. Thank you. Thank you, all of you guys. It is now time to get that cash. Week 8 is here. Let's go out there and milk it. Leche. Hey, Los